Twitch, Rumble, and YouTube.
You've really been missing out.
You have. You have. Lots of early 20 teens education and culture. That's what you missed out on. But we're here now, and we're about to do a show.
Let's get it on.
Get it on.
It must be quite apparent by this time to any thinking individual that the people of our country and people of other countries all over the world are coming to face a moment of grave decision. A time when we will choose the course of our future.
Oklahoma, Texas, New York, Philadelphia, around the world, it's gonna be a big nut bust.
The Millennial Media Offensive podcast is now live.
Right you are. Today is August 12th, 2025. You're listening to MMO number 182. And from the great city and state of St. Louis, Missouri, I'm Dan Gehring.
And from America's South Coast, where we've done it, we've found the chat room's weakness. I'm John G. Dew.
And the chat room's weakness is...
mukbang, baby.
Mukbang. That's right, everybody. No more weekly media analysis, no more deconstruction. Instead, it's just going to be John, myself, and our new co-host, Vang Chai, eating excessive amounts of gooey ducks on the stream. Rebranding.
I think we should be the commentators, and we should have guests every week, these small Asian women. Every week we have a new small Asian girl who comes on and just eats for the entire 3-hour show. We've got a slow motion close-up cam for when we get a really good shot, and we're just commentating. And the commentary is in English, but it's also dubbed over 5
hilarious.
Seconds late.
Hard-coded, dubbed, like Chinese logos.
Yes.
I love it.
I think we've got a winner. Sorry, if you tune in for geopolitics, I'm sorry. That's done. That's so 2021, and we're moving on.
Guy LaDouche, let's get a replay on that.
Get it on.
Thank you. Look at the way she takes down that phallical-looking gooey duck. Gotta love it.
I'm sure our wives would love that.
It's for the internet, honey. It's not sexual.
It's not real.
That's right. Oh, I don't know. There's a lot of emotions in this household these days. I don't think we should introduce the Asian women eating phallical-shaped foods on the show quite yet. Wait a few months.
Yes, wait until you have children to ask, Daddy, what do you do for a living?
Oh, God. So how are you, John?
I'm fine. I'm watching it rain. I'm very happy that it's raining. Those are the kind of things that make me happy these days. And it's a very satisfying rain. Not a hard driving rain, but kind of light out and just raining straight down. Very, very nice.
Yeah, Weirdo was sharing some pictures with us of the rain coming over the plains of Kansas, and I always like that vibe. I always like it right before it rains when it's still, and you can start to smell that earthy smell coming up. It's just beautiful. I always want a candle.
Yeah, it's very nice.
I want a candle scent that's called Right Before the Rain. Like, it has to nail it.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, it's really got to nail it. You can't mess that one up.
No, everything smells like clean linen. Oh, this is campfire. And it's like, smells like linen. I don't know. Your nose is effed, if that's what you think that smells like.
Yeah, well, it's Tuesday again, so I'm good. I'm good. Got some material, did some work over the week, worked in the garden over the weekend, got rejected from a farmer's market over the weekend.
Ejected or rejected?
Rejected. These are the days of my life now.
You couldn't sell?
Yeah, I didn't make the sign-up deadline.
Oh, no. You can't set your tent up in this empty square. We don't even know who you are. You could be a terrorist.
Well, to be fair,
where did these carrots come from?
I was selling 9/11 rugs. No, I'm kidding. I called before I went to the farmer's market, so I wasn't rejected on the spot. I thought, I know this town that I was going to try to sell things at, and I know how they think of themselves, and they're completely detached from reality. So I called ahead of time because I thought, what if they have a sign-up deadline? And sure enough, I had missed the sign-up deadline by 2 whole days and was told on the phone, no, it's not about a lack of space. It's about the fact that you missed the deadline.
You got to follow the rules, John.
I know.
That's funny. I had an encounter with Boomer Karen as well. About 3 times a week, I take Ralph to the park, and I go to a secluded soccer field where there's nobody, and it's out of the way, so no one would have a reason to cross that path. And I throw the tennis ball with a chuck it with him, and he loves it. It's his favorite thing in the world. I pick up that thing, and he's like, by the back door, he's like, we're going. It's going to be great. I'm there for 15 minutes, 3 times a week, maybe. And I'm always by myself. This week, I'm in the soccer field throwing the ball, and this lady comes out of nowhere, starts walking across the field and goes, excuse me. Oh, yeah? She's like, you probably don't know this, but there's a strict leash policy in this park. And I'm like, oh, I'm aware. There's signage everywhere. And she's like taken aback. She's like, well, what are you doing? And I'm like, playing fetch with my dog, secluded over here. She's like, you can get a ticket for this. And I go, are you the person that writes the tickets? No. Well, then go F yourself, quite honestly. Call the cops. I don't really care.
Yes,
So.
there are policemen and women that don't wear uniforms in this iron prison that we live
That's
in,
right.
especially in cities.
I was like, you were the person in 1984 reporting people for, buying used razors so they could shave their beards. That's you. That's who you are.
Dan, the rules give her meaning.
Well, it's the same thing with the farmer's market. You missed the sign-up deadline. Well, I'm here now. Can I not sell my carrots?
Oh, well, there's something better too. This whole thing about there are people that follow the rules and feel like it's their born duty to enforce the rules that make no sense and they can't justify them, with logic. It's gone a step further. And I experienced this with the farmer's market as well. It's not only the rule of the deadline, and we have to abide by the rules here. I was also informed, because Taylor has made pickles this year, because we have had cucumbers coming out of our ears.
Jeez, you should get that looked at.
I was informed that if 3 pickle vendors have signed up before I call to sign up, then I can't bring my pickles because, quote, we want everyone to get a piece of the pie.
But I'm not selling pie. I'm selling pickles.
I'm not selling pickles for pie either.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Well, what if my pickles are better than their pickles, right?
Well, that's what I told Taylor. I said, if they follow that logic and we go to this farmer's market and be as popular as we probably would be, they're going to kick us out because not everyone else is getting any of the pie.
That's right. You've crashed the pickle economy.
He's got a pickleopoly.
That's the pickleopoly title. Put it down. Put it down. What relevance does it have to the show? None whatsoever, but we liked it.
It could at least be a cold open.
Could be. Pickleopoly. Love it. Well, that's good. That's good. I'm upset that you can't sell at the farmer's market. We hate people that enforce and follow obscure and stupid rules, even when they're not, like you can't drink a single beer when you drive your car. Sure I can. I'm not drunk. That kind of stuff. We don't like that. And so if you don't like that either, then you're at the right place. You are on the offensive with John and I. What do you think?
That's right. And I mentioned in the open the chat room, and that is in the French language context is the reason we call it the chat room as a chateau, not for any other reason. it's a chateau for inquiring minds, and you can join those completely sane inquiring minds at chat.mmo.show, I believe. Did I finally get that right? Is that right, Dan?
Chat.mmo.show. Yeah, you nailed it.
Got it. Wow. Memory's incredible.
Well, you know.
Yes. So you had your experience in the park. Otherwise, are you good? Are you fine? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Did a lot of trim work this weekend. I was informed by Weirdo that I apparently need to oil up my nail gun. It kept like jamming up on me, so it's apparently a lack of oil in the nail gun.
You tell people at the end of every show for months now.
I know. That's the funny part about it.
Yeah, keep their weapons lubed up, and obviously you're talking about construction weapons, and you're just a hypocrite.
Fair. I'm not even going to argue. Fair point. Fair point. Indeed. I should have lubed my my nail gun. It was really frustrating because I lay out this beautiful strip and then a 2-inch nail sticking out of it. I'm like, shit. Then I had to yank it out with the pliers. I was like a wood dentist this weekend.
Yeah, looks like Dave Portnoy tried to nail that thing in there.
Oh, man. I always think that's so funny when I'm doing stuff like this and there's people out there like Dave Portnoy that can't even work a freaking hammer.
Got those safety glasses on, though.
Right. So you never know, and you might need them when you're hammering a small sign onto a fence. Safety's important. Well, what do you think?
Okay.
What do you think the most, I guess, the capturing headline of this week was?
Well, it's either the occupation of Washington, D.C. or the peace deal in Russia and Alaska.
I've got them both. I think the peace deal is more interesting. But we're obviously going to cover them both. So let's start with Russia.
All right, let's start. Go ahead.
So Putin is apparently, or Trump and Putin are meeting in Alaska, and they're evidently going to try to come to an agreement. And all of a sudden, Europe and everybody is losing their mind.
Yes, but the most important point is that Trump said he was going to Russia, and Russia sold Alaska to the United States in 1867, mister.
It's a symbolic location, meaning we're screwing Ukraine out of land and whatnot. Some of these new, I got some Jake Tapper that's going to come up later in the segment, and it's just like these people don't want peace, right? It's actually they don't want Trump to succeed in anything. So
they don't want the gravy train to stop.
Any sort of progress, though, it's got to be bad because Trump is behind it, and it's apparent in these DW clips, and it's going to be apparent in the CNN clips as well. But I'll just play a little intro from Deutsche Welle, the douchewell.
U.S. President Donald Trump said Ukraine and Russia will have to concede territory to each other to end the war. He was speaking ahead of Friday's bilateral meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska. President Trump said it's not up to him to make a deal, but the talks would help gauge the likelihood of an agreement between Russia and Ukraine.
Well, we're going to have a meeting with Vladimir Putin, and at the end of that meeting, probably in the first 2 minutes, I'll know exactly whether or not a deal can be made. How will you know that? Because that's what I do. I make deals.
Ahead of Friday's meeting, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has invited the U.S. president.
I really do like that. That's what I do. I make deals. He's like, I can tell if a guy's yanking me around or not, is basically what Trump's telling the guy. That's what I do.
So here's your deal. Russia gets all of Europe, and Trump gets to put a golf course in Kiev.
Love it. Europe's a failed state, or is a failed experiment. But I don't know if I haven't.
It's kind of a continent, but I get your sentiment.
Well, I would argue that it is kind of a state with the European Union now.
It has elements of a state, but it's a wacky state.
All right. We'll continue this intro.
Well, ahead of Friday's meeting, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has invited the US president to a virtual summit with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, as well as European and NATO leaders. Ukraine and its European allies are concerned that Presidents Putin and Trump will use their meeting to decide territorial concessions without Kyiv's participation. President Zelensky has repeatedly rejected any peace plan that involves ceding land to Russia. Europeans are worried that major concessions to Moscow could create security problems for the West in the future.
Oh, no. We want the war to end, but this could create security problems for the West in the future.
Did I understand that correctly? That basically Zelensky and the European leaders are going to have a cry sesh over Zoom while Putin and Trump are going on a date in Alaska?
Well, the marketing is they're going to lock down their strategy, what they want and what they won't do. What's going to happen is Trump is going to come up with a deal, and it's going to be probably pretty good. And Zelensky's going to veto it because, oh, no, that concedes land. And, pretty much that. The Europeans are meeting, and they're going to try to worry Friedrich Merz, who's on the ropes in Germany as far as his political career is going, really needs a win, and so he's trying to insert himself as the champion for Ukraine, and will probably come out against any sort of idea that Trump comes up with, but we'll wait and see. Jake Tapper, on the other hand, is it's so apparent, the bias. Like, we're not the biggest Trump fans on the show, but it's so obvious that the mainstream media just hates the guy that any sort of deal he could possibly be working on has got to be ridiculed and criticized because Orange Man bad, and that's still the case today.
Well, I haven't picked up a lot of that sentiment from DW yet, but I'm pretty sure it's coming.
Well, yeah, I'll cut out this second clip because it's really not that interesting, but you can hear kind of the disdain from DW in this third clip right here.
Okay, so the Europeans want to try and ensure that President Trump doesn't get tricked by President Putin, and to try and ensure there will be no swapping of territories over Ukraine's head. Is there any evidence that NATO or European leaders can have the slightest influence on Donald Trump doing what Donald Trump wants to do?
Is there any evidence?
Well, I would remind you that when Friedrich Merz visited Donald Trump in the White House back in June, Trump said that he was very interested to hear what Friedrich Merz had to say on the subject of Ukraine, and thought that the European point of view was very interesting. Now, it may just be words, but he said the same thing about a lot of the other Europeans as well. Trump has been tough with Zelensky, but he's continued to listen to the Europeans, I think not least because he wants them to pay for Europe's defence, as he says. And also, it's worth noting, this is going to be, I think, from the European point of view, a lot about the security arrangements on the ground, how to shore up any peace deal, any ceasefire that might be agreed potentially, and how to secure, as it were, that pathway to peace in the future on the ground in Ukraine.
The pathway.
Well, old chap, the answer's no.
Exactly. They're all worried that Trump's not going to represent Europe because he's best friends with Vladimir. It's the same talking points.
Because he doesn't represent Europe.
No, he doesn't. He represents the United States of America, and we're done funding the war. But Jake Tapper focuses on one point, like, why isn't Zelensky going to be there? And the obvious answer is because he won't freaking blow up any sort of deal right there, then and there, like he did in the Oval Office.
Is this the CNN report with Rebecca Heinrichs from the Hudson Institute?
I believe so. Do you have?
Oh, it's gold.
Do you have this segment cut out?
Yes, I do. I have it clipped in its entirety.
Oh well, let's go with yours then.
Well, let's just get another setup of the negotiations from CNN's perspective to start.
Okay.
Well, we're going to have a meeting with Vladimir Putin, and at the end of that meeting, probably in the first 2 minutes, I'll know exactly whether or not a deal can be made.
How will you know that?
That's what he does.
That's what I do. I make deals.
That's what he does. He makes deals, and our world lead officials are rushing to finalize the logistics of Friday's Trump-Putin summit in Alaska. As of now, only limited details have been announced, including the city, the venue where the two world leaders will meet, and more. Officials are also working out what topics are going to be allowed to be discussed, although President Trump hopes to yield significant progress towards ending the war in Ukraine. He is going to do that without Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky present for that conversation. At least that's the plan as of now. Nick Payton-Walsh is in Kharkiv in eastern Ukraine. And Nick, Ukrainian President Zelensky says Russia is definitely not preparing for any sort of ceasefire. What has been his response to being left out of the summit?
Oh, where can I come?
Yeah, I mean, President Trump held out the possibility he would call Zelensky after his meeting with Putin, maybe even arrange later for the three men to meet in some capacity. But Zelensky, from the start, has been very clear that nothing can occur without Ukraine, without Ukraine. And today kind of went on the informational offensive, saying that the information they're getting, their intelligence, suggests, in fact, Russia's not preparing for peace. Instead, it's actually preparing more offensive operations. Indeed, there have been some alarming reports by open source analysts suggesting that in some parts in the east, Russia's made significant progress in just the last week, causing alarm bells to ring.
Yeah, they moved like 10 miles west in the last couple of days.
Very quickly.
Very quickly.
And apparently this is a signal that they're not that they're not interested in peace. How stupid would they be after all of the failed negotiations and undermined negotiations to halt their war effort because there are talks of negotiations again?
Also, how stupid would they be to not try to put themselves in the most advantageous spot possible before negotiations?
Not to mention that.
Yeah. But, you can't have a nuanced analysis on the mainstream media because I stand with Ukraine and anything else is Nazi speak. Yeah.
Oh, yes, Russia is the great enemy. So, let's move on and talk about this European support and the potential for a land swap.
Oh, my God.
A little bit about in your clip.
Zelensky better be at the table for that.
Look, Zelensky's also had quite a lot of support from European allies who've demanded the same unconditional immediate ceasefire that the US originally proposed with Ukraine months ago, and that being the starting point for negotiations. And also, too, a European statement has insisted that the current contact line...
Imagine that. The U.S., under Donald Trump, makes a proposal months ago, and it's ridiculed and dismissed out of hand. And now Ukraine supports that proposal. Now that they are in a worse position, they say, you know what, that was okay. Can we do that? Can we do unconditional now? Is that still on the table? Can we do that?
They are still pushing the narrative that if Ukraine had an unlimited supply of money and weapons, they could win the war. That's the narrative. But the weapons don't exist. We can't give them to Ukraine because we need them in our...
Well, the weapons exist, and they're nuclear. And from day one, well, not from day one, it took me a little while to get here, but I've said repeatedly that if you're going to take this all the way, you have to give Ukraine nukes. That's the logical conclusion. But we're not going to do that. So this is what we get, this humming and hawing about, how long can we prolong this war? Can we give a couple more drones, and can we give them some E-points for killing Russians? And what's the effect on morale of giving extra E-points?
I saw an interesting video about how the war is being fought on that front line. And these guys are effectively sneaking out on foot to little cubby holes that are dug in tree lines between fields and launching drones. And they're getting their supplies delivered to them by drone as well. And so they'll go out there for multiple weeks. And so that's how the E-point system works, because now you target these things, you have proof, you have these video proof of destruction that occurred, you get the E-points, and then while you're sitting in your cubby hole in the middle of the frontline battlefield, which is all drone warfare now, you can order your, extra large grenade that's going to kill Russians with your E-points. And so it is kind of an interesting economy. And I'll post that video that I watched on it in the show notes as well. It's really good. I'd recommend it. But yeah, I
yes.
can't
How many
imagine
E
this.
points for the Big Snood magazine of Sydney Sweeney?
I don't know, but I'm going to resell that one for sure. Get a photocopy. No, just kidding. We'll continue.
And also, too, a European statement has insisted that the current contact line is essentially frozen as the starting point for negotiations. Could there be swaps? It's something really that Trump has talked about in terms of territory going back and forth between Russia. Always hard to know, indeed, what Russia could potentially give back to Ukraine, of Ukraine. But also to Germany's leader, Friedrich Merz, now arranging a call for Wednesday between himself, European leaders and President Trump, presumably to shore up Europe's position ahead of the Alaska meeting, Jake.
So you just talked about this land swap idea that the President Trump, talked about. Has Ukraine weighed in on that?
Yeah, look, I mean, this has always been an absolute no for Ukraine. The concept of giving voluntarily land that Russia has not occupied by force to Russia as part of a deal. That seems to have emerged during US Special Envoy Stephen Witkoff's visits to Moscow. Different permutations emerging, some suggestion potentially that there hasn't been a full understanding of Russia's position, which appears to be very maximalist, still essentially wanting all of Ukraine. In fact, President Trump suggested he was one of the people who still thought that Russia wanted all of Ukraine when he spoke today. So a lot still riding on that, but the idea we've been seeing ourselves today, travelling around the very areas of the Donetsk region, Kramatorsk, Slavyansk, towns that are full of Ukrainian soldiers and civilians, bustling a normal life there. Yes, air raid sirens on very often, massive damage done, but tens of thousands of people there who think it's frankly surreal that two men in Alaska on Friday from America and Russia might decide whether they will have to pack up and leave and hand over their homes to Moscow. Very far-fetched to Ukraine's government, almost absurd when you stand in those areas yourself, Jake.
Oh, man. If they don't like that, maybe they should get the Russians out of there, you know? Oh, you don't have weapons and you need funding from people? Oh, sounds like you're dependent on those two guys that are negotiating in Alaska.
Not to mention the lands that are most likely in discussion to be given to Russia are the Donbass, the Donetsk and Luhansk regions, which are pro-Russian.
The stated reason for the invasion in the first place.
Right.
I've got, after you finish up with CNN, I've got a breakdown of the land situation and one that's kind of an interesting piece to the puzzle.
Well, I'm just going to continue giving us more mischaracterizations of the conflict now that we're 2 years into it or so. We can just say whatever comes to mind and whatever we want to be true. And that's how you get a job at the Hudson Institute, like Rebecca Heinrichs.
And I want you to take a listen, Rebecca, to what J.D. Vance, Vice President Vance, said just yesterday.
I think the president, and I certainly think that America, we're done with the funding of the Ukraine war business. We want to bring about a peaceful settlement to this thing. We want to stop the killing. But Americans, I think, are sick of continuing to send their money, their tax dollars to this particular conflict. But if the Europeans want to step up and actually buy the weapons from American producers, we're okay with that, but we're not going to fund it ourselves anymore.
And I got to say, I agree with the couch lover on this one.
That's rough stuff. I mean, there's a lot of blaming Ukraine subtextually in that.
How?
What do you think?
Well, it's interesting because Vice President Vance used to oppose even selling American weapons to Europeans who would give the weapons to Ukraine. So it's nice to see him now take President Trump's position, which is that the United States still has a strong interest in seeing a strong...
Little silver linings from you there. Okay.
A little silver lining. I will also say there was recent polling done by the Vandenberg Coalition just last week that 87% of Trump voters still understand that Russia poses a threat to the United States. So I'm not sure which piece of the coalition the vice president
That's
specifically
irrelevant.
talking about.
It is irrelevant. It's not even
That's
the
irrelevant.
same. It's not even the same fact at all.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Russia can still pose a threat to the United States because it's a nuclear nation. But that doesn't mean that they're not sick of funding Ukraine in a war that they can never win. Those are two separate things entirely.
Yep. That's why she gets the big bucks.
Here's a statistic that has no relevance to the previous one mentioned. So I don't know where
56% of Ukrainian women enjoy hot dogs.
Oh, That's too high of a number.
But Americans understand that Ukraine security is related to NATO security. NATO security is related to American security. You want to have good trade deals with Europeans, you have to have a strong and peaceful Europe, and that means a strong and secure Ukraine. So I think that Ukraine is in a better position than we were a few months ago, and it's hard for Zelensky, I think, to be quiet, but it would be good for him to kind of just let this play out a little bit. I'm not confident that Putin is even going to concede anything at all, so it's good just to let this kind of summit play out.
That's right. Sit in the corner and watch, big boy.
Yeah.
I agree with her last point there. He should not blow this up like he has done every other negotiation.
Yeah, it comes from a place of assuming that Trump isn't going to be able to make it work.
Yeah, you just got crispy. John got crispy. So he's got a reboot. He's gone away, and now he's back.
I'm back. You want me to restate that last sentence?
Yes, please.
Well, it comes from a place of assuming that Trump isn't going to be able to make it work.
Of course, you can't have any confidence in Trump because he's a clown, he's a stooge. He is pretty much a child on the international stage, and so we can't have any positive backing behind him or belief behind him at all, even though he's the leader of the free world.
Okay. Well, we understand that is the mindset. Now, Jeffrey Edmonds is with the Council on Foreign Relations. I believe. Do I have it in the clip what he's with? The acronym there?
NSC?
National Security Council.
There you go.
Not CFR. Yeah, thanks. Jeffrey Edmonds was with the National Security Council, and he's going to tell us something that flies in the face of every single day's propaganda for the last 2.5 years, 2 years. I don't know how long it's been. It's not about land.
Yeah, I mean, what is there that would suggest that Putin is going to concede anything? I mean, he, by all accounts, he's winning in some areas, right? And It doesn't seem like President Trump and Vice President Vance particularly like Zelensky or support him and this venture. I mean, what's in it for Putin to concede anything?
There really isn't anything for it. The most important thing I think to consider is that this is not about land. I think a lot of people presume that it is. It's about the demilitarization, the denazification of Ukraine. It's really about Ukraine's sovereignty. And if it's not about land, you're not going to get to peace through a land deal. I think that's the most important thing. And then second, to Zelensky's point, Ukraine has a vote in these negotiations. And if this isn't something they're going to go along with, even if they don't have U.S. support, that doesn't mean they're just going to capitulate.
It's about denazification. So they're now admitting that there's Nazis in Ukraine.
He's saying that is Russia's justification. But since when do we take Russia at their word that that's their actual justification? How can they not stop at Ukraine if it's not about land?
Well, it is about land, I think. I think there is a piece of land that Putin would be particularly pleased with having. And I don't know.
It doesn't. It's not in line with the propaganda that's been shoved down our throat for 2 years about he's not going to stop at Ukraine.
Yeah.
Right. Now we're hearing, well, it's not about land. So this is just, it's just the morphing of the narrative to serve the current agenda, which is to discredit these talks and say that Trump can't do it.
Yeah, we don't like the way he's doing it. We wouldn't do it this way. This is bad. Trump
Okay,
bad.
let's continue. This is this clip will speak for itself. It's called Donbass Unbelievable.
Dominoes.
No, it's interesting. I was talking earlier with Jill Dougherty, former CNN Moscow bureau chief. After Putin seized Crimea in 2014, it was a fake election, but they did have this plebiscite, right? They did have this, okay, we're going to have the citizens of Crimea vote on this. And it was a joke, and it wasn't real, and it was illegitimate, but there was at least the pretense of that. There's no pretense even here. They're just talking about giving land, well, let's see if the people of Donbass want to be part of Russia.
No, and there's also a question about how much control Russian the military campaign has even succeeded. So we know that there is now Russian control over Crimea, but the rest of the territory is still an active war zone. And so this idea that you can sort of swap land that may be more taken and held by Russia versus Ukraine, I mean, we don't have any kind of facts on that point either. So I think that we haven't even gotten to a ceasefire yet. President Trump has been clear sequentially he wants a ceasefire, and then we can get into details about how we get to sort of even a frozen conflict, make sure Ukraine can stop further Russian aggression. Ukraine has agreed to a ceasefire and has since March. It's just been Russia that continues this assault against Ukraine.
Well, they are the other party, so it is important to get their buy-in.
Yeah. Let's finish this CNN clip with a CNN segment out with it's just titled the final clip.
Is it not true that let's say that Vice President Kamala Harris had won and she was doing a peace deal right now or trying to end the war, that no matter what, there was going to be some sort of land concession that Ukraine was going to have to make. I understand that you're saying this is bigger than geography, but in order to bring about peace, Ukraine was going to have to concede some land, Democratic or Republican president. Do you agree with that?
I think so, especially at this point. It's become pretty clear that the Ukrainian military cannot retake all of the land that Russia has taken. So if there was a case where Putin actually was interested in leaving the current government in Kyiv in place, allowing Ukraine to defend itself, and was content with the land, which he wouldn't be, then you would obviously have some kind of demarcation there, and the Ukrainians would have to cede something. I just don't think that's a reality in this.
All right. Jeff Edmonds and Rebecca Heinrichs, thanks to both of you.
It's not a reality because it's not about the land, according to Jeff Edmonds.
Yeah. Now, I've got a follow-up clip from today, and this is just some random TikTok guy who implies that he's had a career in law, and he talks about these things. He's
Trust me, I know. I know.
Yeah, he's some 60-year-old guy who's sitting in his man cave because that's where he's been relegated to. And he discusses these things, and he's talking about how Leave It to Beaver Cheeks is now saying that this is a listening exercise. And apparently this comes about because Witkoff, when he talked to Putin, didn't have a U.S. translator and used a Kremlin-provided translator, and there may have been some miscommunication because of that.
Interesting.
Looks like the White House is trying to downplay any actual benefits from the summit coming up in Alaska. Still don't know exactly where. Between Trump and Putin, maybe not Zelensky. I don't think it's going to end up in any sort of peace deal.
Sarah Palin's house would be a good spot. Just interjecting.
I certainly could be wrong. I've been wrong before, but the White House has said that this is a listening exercise for the president. You may remember from kindergarten how important it is to put on your listening ears and be nice and quiet so that you can listen to what somebody is saying to you. Will the president actually bring an American interpreter this time, unlike Witkoff, who didn't do that, apparently, when he met with Putin, leading to some misunderstandings? I don't know. I guess we'll see. Will he usher everybody out except said interpreters, like he did the last term? I don't know. I guess we'll see. But he is going to bring those listening ears.
Keith
Such
Olbermann.
Captivating analysis.
That guy's a more tame Keith Olbermann.
Yeah.
With that kind of analysis.
You're exactly right.
I was like, who does he remind me of? That's it. Okay, so this one is, I think you should...
Let me ask you to look again at a map.
Look at a map on this one because we're going to be talking about the specific regions and land. And this is from the BBC. I thought it was a particularly good analysis. It might be, I don't think it's that dense, but he brings up a point about a land corridor along a certain place in Ukraine that would be beneficial for Ukraine, and also Europe would not like it. So here we go.
in the last 48 hours, it's become fairly clear that the Russians have launched a surprise offensive in the Donbass area, mainly between Pokrovsk and Kramatorsk, and they've had some success. They seem to have advanced on 2 or 3 fronts by about 15 or 20 kilometers, which is quite a long way in terms of the present war. Undoubtedly, what they're trying to do is to change the facts on the ground between now and the weekend, when this summit takes place between President Trump and Putin in Alaska. And changing the facts on the ground, of course, is all about maybe swapping territories or having a territorial transfer ahead of some sort of ceasefire. So what might that transfer look like? If there is going to be some sort of territorial transfer, I'm pretty skeptical myself, but this may be what we're talking about. There are 4 areas to think about. One of them is Crimea. Crimea is really important. The Russians will not give up Crimea. The Ukrainians are in no position to take it back anytime soon. So although Crimea is very important legally and militarily, it's off the table as far as present negotiations go. A second area would be the marginal areas up in Sumy and Kharkiv. The Russians, after the Kursk offensive, hold a little bit of Ukrainian territory opposite Sumy, a little bit of territory in Kharkiv. They might agree to withdraw from those territories. It doesn't cost them anything to do that, and it would be a certain amount of withdrawal which the Ukrainians could talk about. That would be a second area, reasonably easy to negotiate. Third area, much more difficult to negotiate, is the Donbass. The Russians say they want the whole of the Donbass as a first step. Well, they hold most of Luhansk, which is one part of it. They hold about 3/4 of Donetsk, but they don't hold the other quarter, which is the bit that the Ukrainians have fought so hard for, really since 2014, not just since 2022. And the Russians are saying they want the whole of the Donbass.
That's a weird thing to say. The war started in 2022. They've been fighting for it since 2014? Why?
And the Russians are saying they want the whole of the Donbass. And in that area, there are the 4 big cities, Slavyansk, Kramatorsk, Kostiantynivka, Drushkivka, and those are the fortress cities. They're like a very strong line of defences. And the Ukrainians will be required to give up those strong line of defences and let the Russians in. And west of that, it's harder to construct defences. So that's a third area, very, very sensitive. And then a fourth area is that it is reported, I'm not sure at all about this, but it is reported that maybe the Russians would give up some land in southern Zaporizhia and in Kherson as long as they could keep a land corridor between Donetsk and Crimea. So how big that land corridor would be, how much territory they might give up to create that corridor, we just don't know. It is possible, it's possible that President Putin would see the idea of giving those concessions as a way of getting the Ukrainians to give this concession. But
so I'm going to start with there, because then he just goes into the same analysis we've been hearing. So that is what I thought was the most interesting, was the land corridor between Donetsk, and again, look at a map, between Donetsk and Crimea. And that land corridor would be along the banks of the Sea of Azov, which is part of the Black Sea, but it's its own kind of like, own area, the Sea of Azov, which I think is a kind of a symbolic sea for the Ukrainians, specifically the right-wing Ukrainians. And so that would be incredibly interesting because a lot of our analysis evolved around fighting and trying to get the Russians out of the Black Sea, right? We were talking about the military base in Romania. And now this idea that Russia might concede land for a land bridge from Donetsk to Crimea on the Ukrainian side of the Sea of Azov would give Russia that critical warm water port that it needs and keep them in that Black Sea area.
You'll have to forgive me. I'm not following this bridge from Donetsk to Crimea.
So
where are we talking about exactly?
Okay, so in the southern part of Ukraine, I guess the southeastern part of Ukraine, there's Zaporizhia, okay?
Yes.
The Russians hold Zaporizhia right now.
Oh, it's not a physical bridge. It's a bridge through Ukrainian territory.
Correct. So it would be,
okay.
They would give Ukraine back Zaporizhia, and the Russians would get to keep a strip of land, probably along the coastline of the Sea of Azov, to Crimea. So they would have full pretty much 360-degree ownership of the Sea of Azov, which is an important warm water port for Russia because they can't really launch a bunch of boats in the north of Russia during the wintertime because of how their ports freeze up. So that keeps them in the Black Sea, which, Dan, that's counterintuitive because you've been saying the war is being fought for the Black Sea because the European Union needs that in order to get to Kazakhstan. That was the case until this week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here you go. Pretty good transition and analysis so far, huh, John?
Yeah, I would just like to point out before we move on to that issue, that news, that corridor would probably, if you're going to give them a route, a land route, the most significant route nearest the Azov Sea is the highway between Melitopol and Crimea. So there's a highway that links Mariupol to Melitopol to Crimea. And that would be your encapsulating the Azov Sea.
Pretty much. Yeah, that route is a good route. And yeah, they would have then full control of the sea. I think that this plan that we're about to talk about came together and I think the initial plan for Europe and Ukraine was not only were they going to beat back the Russians from eastern Ukraine, but they were going to retake Crimea. And Zelensky himself had stated that goal and said there will be no peace until we have Crimea back. And then the Europeans were like, all right, guy, you're not getting
let's take a break.
You're not getting it back. It's gone. That is long gone. And so now this deal that kind of came and went in the news, and I don't think the news did a good job of highlighting the significance of it, but they do mention it in this DW.
Well, of course not, because they can't take the time it takes to explain why this is important.
But, Trump...
And they have to make it about Trump.
Well, Trump is the guy that's been sandbagging Europe, and, arguably, this only really benefits Europe. Of course, the U.S. benefits a little bit from the trade route, but it vastly benefits Europe more so than the United States. So, without further ado, we'll talk about the peace agreement between Armenia and Azerbaijan.
Azerbaijan and Armenia have signed a peace deal at the White House aimed at ending decades of hostilities. The two neighbours have clashed over the disputed Nagorno-Karabakh region since the late 1980s. Azerbaijan reclaimed it in 2023. Turkey has now welcomed the agreement as a boost for regional stability.
Donald Trump was all smiles as he welcomed Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan and Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev to the White House, and little wonder. The US president seems to have found a solution to a decades-old conflict, and in the process secured Washington exclusive development rights to a strategic corridor through the energy-rich South Caucasus.
It's a long time, 35 years. They fought, and now they're friends, and they're going to be friends for a long time. This declaration establishes what they are calling a great honor for me. I didn't ask for this. The Trump route for international peace and prosperity, which is a special transit area that will allow Azerbaijan to get full access to its territory of Nakhchivan while fully respecting Armenia's sovereignty.
So it's a big deal for Trump, especially ahead of next week's summit with Vladimir Putin, because Russia sees the two former Soviet republics firmly within its sphere of influence. Turkey, a long-time supporter of its neighbour Azerbaijan, said it welcomed the progress achieved towards a lasting peace. But what does it mean for Azerbaijan and Armenia? The two have been locked in sporadic border clashes since the late 1980s. The most recent flare-up came when Azerbaijan seized the contested territory of Nagorno-Karabakh, a previously autonomous region populated mostly by ethnic Armenians. The offensive lasted just 24 hours, but displaced nearly the entire population. The self-declared republic was later dissolved after a ceasefire between Armenia and Azerbaijan, but talks over a peace treaty stalled. Now the two have a chance to normalise relations.
And normalize relations they might. Yeah, I mean, I've had Azerbaijani Uber drivers and Armenian Uber drivers, and the two just do not like each other at all.
Well, it's understandable because not only is it ethnic, but it's religious as well.
Yeah.
Azerbaijanis are primarily Muslim, where Armenians are Christian, for those of you wondering. And that was the whole reason the Nagorno-Karabakh region gained the notoriety in America that it did when Azerbaijan took it, because it was an enclave of Christians.
Right. When did we talk about Nagorno-Karabakh? Because I kept hearing that phrase, and I was like, it's so familiar, but I don't remember.
We talked about it when Azerbaijan seized it, and pretty much our thought was, we don't really know what this is about, but it happened.
Right. Okay. Yeah, so that's interesting. So they're going to call it the Trump, kind of the Trump trade route. There's a longer name for it, but it's called the Trump in there.
It's the trip. The trip. The Trump route for international peace and prosperity. International. And that's not talking about Azerbaijan and Armenia. I think this, to your point, I'm on board with you. This is the key.
They got the direct route to Kazakhstan, all of the stans. Remember when we talked about all the stans? That's the direct route through Turkey, through Armenia, through Azerbaijan. The Black Sea no longer matters at all. Well, a little bit, but it no longer matters that we no longer have to beat back the Russians in order to achieve a trade route, bypassing Russia entirely to get to the Kazakhstans and the Turkmenistans and the Uzbekistan, largest producers of uranium, and probably pretty willing trade partners with the EU. A lot of electrical systems and cars will be coming from the EU. And guess what's going to the EU? Minerals and uranium.
Yep.
There it is. And that's the trade route. So, the DW clip goes on. Is this a lasting peace agreement? Should Donald Trump get the peace? But they talk about U.S. involvement in the final clip, and it's just kind of funny. Everyone just kind of does not trust Trump, especially at the DW, which I listen to a lot of because I know their bias really well, and they cover global events more so than statist politics, which I like. But here you go.
You raised the US's role here. The sticking point between Armenia and Azerbaijan has revolved around a corridor that the US will now police. What exactly is the role of the US in this plan?
Well, to be honest, this is a very normal commercial deal that you can find in many other parts of the world, where you invite a private company that helps you with monitoring and facilitation of certain trade relations or transport cooperation. And in that sense, what the US did is basically added with very final piece in the puzzle that was coming together between Armenia and Azerbaijan in the last several years of their bilateral negotiations. And then the U.S. role in that sense is really very positive if it can work. What can spoil the deal is worsened relations between Armenia and Azerbaijan or a new conflict.
Great analysis, yes. What can spoil the deal is if they go to war again. Thank you. DW.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that,
there was...
Go ahead.
I may be losing my mind, and maybe it was just that long ago, but I thought I had done a newsletter about this corridor.
We had definitely spoken about it before, because when I heard about the trade route through Azerbaijan and Armenia, it was very familiar in my head. So I know I had encountered it somehow. And I think you might be right. We either brought it up on the show or you did a newsletter about it, which I very much enjoyed your newsletter this week as well.
Oh, thank you. I knew it would tickle your fancy.
Of course. It's all about the right-wing influencer culture war that's going on right now.
Yes. Just highlighting some of the potentially lesser-known factions, because we talk about political factions here a lot, and it would be... I don't know, it would feel gossipy to talk about it too much on the show, so that's the kind of thing that I like to put in the newsletter.
You'd be like every other podcast. Can you believe that she said that about Nick Fuentes?
Oh my God!
Can you believe that one hot girl is making fun of that other hot girl's small wedding ring? Jeez. Yeah, if you're not on Twitter at this period of time,
stay off.
Yeah, it's pretty much just people.
Stay away.
It's so-called conservative influencers, trad wives flaming each other, and everyone's gay, apparently. That's the funniest thing is whenever conservative people fight on Twitter, everyone's secretly gay all of a sudden. You know what I mean?
Yes, that's it. That's the worst dig.
Yeah.
And of course, then you've got Nick Fuentes just saying, "You're Jewish."
You're Jewish. And then people calling Nick Fuentes a Fed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And gay.
And yeah, that's right. And gay, of course. So that's what I had. That was my DW segment. You have, I think, the same clip, but more clips. I don't know if you missed anything in my coverage, if you wanted to play yours.
No, I think I had a different DW segment, but I don't want to beat a dead horse here. The only thing I would add, I've got a TikTok clip that I think does a good job giving a different perspective, a little rundown from TikTok. So let's listen to it, and then I may add a couple more things. This is the clip called "The Trip."
The Trip.
The United States is building a trade corridor in the Southern Caucasus, and Iran is absolutely gagged. Get ready.
Speaking of secretly gay.
Absolutely gagged. Get ready for 1 minute of hot national security goss. When we last left Armenia and Azerbaijan, they signed a peace deal ending decades of conflict over the disputed region of Nagorno-Karabakh. Since the U.S. brokered the peace deal, it decided that it was going to build a key piece of infrastructure that could be used in the area. Introducing the TRIP. This stands for the Trump Route for International Peace and Prosperity. Now, my geopolitical babies, you should know by now, anytime you hear the terms peace and prosperity, you should ask yourself, for who? The TRIP undercuts Russian influence in the Southern Caucasus, and they've owned that area for a while. It also limits Iranian control over trade corridors in the area. But wait, there's more. The TRIP can only be developed by American companies, which need to be protected by American military, which puts the American military on the northern border of Iran, which is why Iran says they're going to fight the development of the TRIP with or without the help of Moscow.
Oh boy. Might be another reason to use our new hegemony weapon of Israel in the region.
Potentially. And, Turkey seemingly working with Israel on certain things and being allied to Israel in everything but public appearances, especially when it comes to Syria. So why wouldn't they be in favor of using Israel again to keep Iran from ruining this trade border, this trade route?
Well, and it's not so, there's a grand design here as well, because the Kurds, after having a 70-year tiff with the Turkish and the Turkish government, have put down their weapons and agreed to no longer do terrorism in Turkey. And a lot of them have actually joined and gone to Syria, which is now a bloodbath. Al-Julani, the jihadist, is losing control of that country pretty fast. But, just to have that happen, to have this corridor, this deal agreement come together, someone has been really pushing hard for this, and it has been a problem after problem being solved. You can see it on the map. And it's why it's so important when you look at a map.
I knew I had done some material on this. From July 5th, 2025, I tweeted from the Real MMO Show Twitter, at Real MMO Show, about the political unrest in Georgia, and parlayed that news into an examination of potential trade routes in the Caucasus. Quote, unconfirmed reports state that Armenia, Turkey, and Azerbaijan have agreed on terms to complete the Zangezur corridor, connecting the nations with rail and highway infrastructure. And I have a link to an article. This route would link Turkey to the Caspian Sea, creating a trade route that excludes Georgia and Russia from Eurasian Turkish trade. The most prominent trans-Caspian trade route is the Middle Corridor and currently bypasses Armenia to the north through Georgia, then flows through Turkey or through the Black Sea via Georgia's Batumi and potty ports into Romania or Ukraine. Again, this deal, this is why Trump isn't meeting Putin until this week. He had to get the agreement in place with Armenia and Azerbaijan, and now he's going to meet Russia to tell Putin, you're beat.
Yeah, keep Crimea. I don't care. Take Georgia. I really don't care. That's pretty much already, it's been a silent invasion of Georgia. We've got a route through Turkey, through Armenia, through Azerbaijan. I would venture to guess that the best way for Russia to scurry this deal, scuttle the deal, I don't know where scurry came from, scuttle the deal would be to actively invest in trying to destabilize relations between Armenia and Azerbaijan.
Which would come through Iran.
Yes. Ooh. Wow. World at war. And identified 2 years ago, directly around the Ring of Fire, which is the Black Sea.
Yep. I'm going to put a link to the show notes to this tweet from the @RealMMO Twitter account and tell you that since I told you not to get on Twitter, if you're not on Twitter, then don't worry about this. But if you're on Twitter, you should definitely follow the @RealMMO show. Much like the newsletter, not really concerned with consistency in posting, but quality in posting.
Yeah, I'd say the only thing that this show does consistently is put out a podcast once a week. We're pretty consistent on that, but everything else kind of takes a backseat.
Except our jobs, wives, and kids.
In that order. Just kidding. Podcast first, of course. Podcast, God, country. That's what I say. No. God above all.
Blasphemy.
God above all. Amen. Sorry, sir.
Sir.
Where are we going next?
How many Hail Marys will you have to do tonight?
At least 7, which is the perfect number. I was thinking about, I went down a weird 666 imperfect human rabbit hole this weekend. It was like not my usual cup of tea, but I don't know, I found it fascinating. That 6 is imperfect and represents humans, and the mark of the beast isn't actually anything to do with demons, but this idea that the humans are God or can become God. And so 666, the mark of the beast, is like the worship of the human race. And I tied that back to AI in my head. I don't say a lot of the things that I think about sometimes, just because they're weird, and people might think I'm crazy. So,
yes, you have to find Dan and I's other podcast for that.
Yeah, I ramble into the mic at 3 a.m.
Another interesting tidbit, and this comes from arguably a tradition as old, if not older, than some of the things you're speaking about. There are 7 chakras in a human, and it's considered imperfect, naturally, if you master 6 and not the 7th.
There you go. Yeah, it's the 666 is it's like the worship of human. It's so fascinating because it became in Hollywood this super demonic symbol, and it is in a sense because you believe you can become your own God, or you become God in and of itself, but you're never perfect, and so that's why the mark of the beast is the 6. I don't know. It's just, if you haven't ventured down that rabbit hole, I would recommend it. You're going to come across a bunch of crazy stuff. But the, I guess, overall general theory behind it is interesting. And yeah, you then start to see how often 7 is repeated in the Bible. And one of the reasons why Christians go to church and rest on the 7th day, which is interesting because there's a certain religion that goes to Mass on the 6th day, and they denied God when he was here in human form. But I won't get into the religious
realm.
Who
could that be?
I don't know. I won't say it out loud. I won't say it at all. Just make an observation, just noticing over here.
Yeah, I've been doing some reading and I got caught up the other day, and I am no expert. I don't put too much into these things because I'm not, I don't get carried away with these things. I just think they're interesting and keep them in mind for times like this when I have an audience and can, spew some malinformation. The observance of the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread is described by God to the Israelis, the descendants of Israel, as a sign on your hand and as a memorial between your eyes.
Interesting. And the mark of the beast is where? Don't they have to draw it on their forehead?
On the right hand or on the eye, between the eyes.
Oh. Wow. The more you know. Wow.
The more doors that we open and then don't go into.
I know. It's like it's not our you know what I mean? We have a show.
It's not our shtick.
It's not our area. But if you are somebody that is in this, does know this well, send us an email. We'll be glad to read it.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically explore. We're just here to explore the mysteries.
The mysteries of the mind.
Okay. Well, I've got my link in the show notes to that early tweet. How about we move on and do some other things now that we've pretty much put our flag in the ground that, well, let me ask you this, Dan.
Yes.
Interpreting this deal with Azerbaijan and Armenia, giving Europe access to the stands, do you think things start cooling down? Do you think Trump actually does it? Does he actually broker peace? Has he bested Russia to the point that he can broker peace and bring all of this to an end, or not?
Oh, I don't know if I would say brokering peace fully. The Europeans are going to be. This is what John Mearsheimer kind of warned about. Now, Ukraine is going to be subdivided up. That part's going to become Russia. And Ukraine now is going to push for NATO membership. And I think the Europeans are going to not want that because they don't want a global war. So there's going to be tensions. Ukraine and Russia are going to be staring each other down the eye over a single border, which is what Jay Meir warned about. But I don't know. Things are looking pretty good. On the front, there's a lot of winning going on in the Trump camp.
Let's look at the ledger here. You have Russia potentially getting Luhansk and Donbass, and a land corridor to Crimea. You have Russians getting a pledge that Ukraine will be disarmed. You get Ukraine getting a pledge that Russia will stop its aggressions and won't aggress against Ukraine. Europe gets the buffer state of an unarmed Ukraine. Europe gets the trade corridor through Turkey, Armenia, Azerbaijan. Turkey gets the trade corridor through itself. Azerbaijan and Armenia get an American presence and a stable peace. America gets a wealthier Europe to sell weapons to.
I mean, Europe is based on old infrastructure, debt, and war, and that world is going away really quickly right now. So, I mean, I think the idea of the European Union or Europe in general is kind of dead or dying.
Well, that may be true, but still, they can still buy weapons.
It's true. I think you'll get kind of a rump state of Europe and then a rump state of Ukraine, and we'll get our trade route through Turkey and Azerbaijan.
Yeah, and Iran gets bombed. Everybody's happy.
Yeah. Probably this will be at least the stage for bad actors, be it Israel, be it us, whoever is the bad actor, could use the Armenia, Azerbaijan, and a potential terrorist attack by Iran as the preface for regime change in Iran.
Well, if whoever derails, no pun intended, the Azerbaijan-Armenia trip is going to face the wrath of Donald Trump, no matter who they are, I would guess.
That's probably why they changed it from Zulagala, or whatever the hell they called it, to
Zanzibar.
Yeah.
Zangazar.
We got to tie Trump's ego to it.
Yes.
He's got to defend his ego.
Yes. Visit Armenia, now with golf.
Aren't the, what are those big butt people that everyone was obsessed with? The Kardashians, aren't they Armenian?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. Now with golf and BBLs.
Okay, well, let's move on. I actually have a random Europe clip, and this is about Spain banning certain festivals. But beware, to all the listeners out there and to you, Dan, this clip has a lot of those stupid clicks as background noise, as if somebody is actually navigating their computer while they're talking to you through the clip. Very annoying.
Okay. I have been forewarned. Thank you.
A Spanish town has become the first in the country to ban Muslims from using public facilities to celebrate religious Eid festivals just weeks after a nearby area was rocked by anti-migrant riots. The controversial ban was passed in Jumilla, a town in the Murcia region with a population of around 27,000, roughly 7.5% of whom come from mostly Muslim countries. The motion was proposed by Spain's Conservative People's Party and backed by the hard-right Vox Party. It prohibits the public facilities such as sports halls and civic centres being used for religious, cultural or social activities alien to our identity, unless officially organised by the local council. It comes less than a month after several people were left injured during anti-migrant rioting in Torre Pacheco, just 70 miles from Jumilla, when a pensioner was reportedly beaten up by 3 Moroccan men. A 68-year-old man told Spanish media he was beaten up in the street on July 9th by 3 young men of North African origin. Amid the announcement of the latest ban, critics have said the wording is a thinly veiled attack on Islamic traditions and have warned that the ruling could breach Spain's constitutionally protected freedom of religion.
Man. Yeah, the Spanish are pretty good at that kind of stuff, of shutting down. Well, this is just going to breed more BS, so we just won't do it at all. You want a celebration? Go to Pamplona. Run with some bulls. Throw some tomatoes. You'll love it.
Okay, well, like I said, just random stuff going on in Spain. I've got South America and Canada before a few domestic stories.
I got something
basically
in Asia.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. Let's finish in the Eastern Hemisphere and take a little break, and then we'll come back for seconds.
I'd rather finish in the Southern Hemisphere, if you get what I'm saying. Okay, so Bong Bong Marcos made a comment about Taiwan. Bong Bong. You know Bong Bong? Bong Bong Marcos? He's the president of Taiwan. Not Taiwan, the Philippines. He's the Filipino president.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
Bong Bong. And he made a comment about if Taiwan gets invaded. And what I thought was interesting about this is, a lot of CNNs, MSNBC, well, not MSNBC, but like ABC, NBC, they'll sit down with politicians and they'll talk to them. This is interesting because one of our previous WeOn favorites, Palki Shawarma, is having sort of this podcast kind of dialogue with Bong Bong Marcos, which is essentially myself, a geopolitical nerd. It is Nick Fuentes on Candace Owens' show, if you will. So although it's a horrible, doesn't even make sense as a comparison. I just thought that was an interesting format that now Palki Shawarma is sitting down in a podcast format with world leaders and talking to them. And Bong Bong made this point, and China had something to say about it.
Another flashpoint in the neighborhood is Taiwan, and most experts fear that Beijing will invade Taiwan before the end of this decade. If that were to happen while you're still in power, would you be open to allowing the U.S. Use resources and bases in the Philippines to defend Taiwan, or would you rather stay out of it?
To be very practical about it, if there is a confrontation over Taiwan between China and the United States, there is no way that the Philippines can stay out of it, simply because of our physical geographic location. To understand how close Taiwan is to the Philippines, the large city of Kaohsiung in Taiwan is a 40-minute flight away from the capital of my province in northern Philippines, in Lawag. That's how close it is. And so if you think about it, if there is an all-out war, then we will be drawn into it. And I assure you with the greatest hesitation, but we will have to defend our territory and our sovereignty. Furthermore, there are many, many Filipino nationals in Taiwan, and that would be immediately a humanitarian problem, because we will have to get involved, because we will have to go in there or find a way to go in there and to bring our people home. As we do whenever they find themselves in areas of conflict. And that, for me, would be the most considerable concern for us, at least in the early days. And so that's why I say we would immediately mobilize everything that we could to bring our people out. That's not an easy thing to do, considering that you are in the middle of a combat zone. So it would not be a small problem by any means.
I had some mic issues, obviously. There, don't have the best mics in India, evidently, which is where this took place. So Bong Bong made those comments, and China was not pleased with it, because up until now, the Philippines had just been kind of doing joint military exercises with the U.S., but it never made a statement on Taiwan or China taking Taiwan. Didn't even actually recognize Taiwan as an independent nation that I know of. They may have. You can fact check me on that, but I had not heard that. And then out of the blue this week, this happens in the South China Sea, off the coast of the Philippines.
You might have seen this on some platforms. Two Chinese ships have collided after one chased a Philippine Coast Guard vessel in the South China Sea. It's the latest dangerous encounter between the two nations with competing claims in this resource-rich waterway. Cliff Venson joins us from Manila to help us understand what happened. So, Cliff, we've seen the videos. Walk us through the events of how this eventually took place.
This guy's great.
Yeah, so it happened during an operation of Philippine Coast Guard. It's an operation meant to support Philippine fishermen in the Scarborough Shoal in the South China Sea. And then, usually when Philippine boats operate there, the Chinese ships would attempt to drive the Philippine vessels away. So what happened yesterday when the Chinese vessels were trying to chase a Philippine Coast Guard ship, a Chinese Navy vessel, I would guess, accidentally rammed into the China Coast Guard ship, which damaged the Chinese vessel. So we are starting to see some tensions flaring up again in this part of the South China Sea.
They couldn't have gotten a better guy.
Yeah. Yes.
But it is what it is. It's not his first language, so good for him to try. So basically, what happened is there's this Coast Guard, the Filipino Coast Guard boats out there, and this Chinese ship is trying to ram it because Xi Jinping gave the orders of, if you see Philippine, you got to punish the Filipinos, you got to punish them now for Bong Bong's comment about Taiwan. And this Filipino ship did the old stutter step, pulled the reverse, and these two Chinese ships rammed into each other. So much embarrassment was had by the Chinese that day.
Yeah, China has been spraying Filipino ships with water cannons for the last few months.
And not the fun wet t-shirt kind.
No. Not at all. These are heavy duty water cannons they're using.
Yeah.
But it hadn't gotten too much play in the news. But actually trying to ram the ships might start to get some play. It might get Trump's attention. And of course it'll get play if he starts talking about it.
Absolutely. And as Billy Bowden points out, it really does not bode well for the stereotype of bad drivers. So.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, so that was Asia. Just another little Black Sea heat up spat moment. It's really hard to stay focused on that when there's so much other stuff going on in the world.
Yeah.
But that was a fun one. Bong Bong is like, yeah, we'd probably have to fight for Taiwan. Let's ram a ship. That'll show.
He didn't even say outright that they would, whose side they'd be.
No, he said we're going in and getting our people out.
Right.
So that is Taiwan. What do you have in the Americas for us this evening, John?
Oh, you want to do Americas? I have some Nicolas Maduro info.
Oh boy!
And this is by the way, this is a TikTok clip. This is the single creator of the clip doing a back and forth where in one instance he has the American flag, and in the other instance he has the Venezuelan flag, and he's speaking back and forth as if the countries are speaking back and forth, just so you can follow what's happening here.
Gotcha.
Say in Venezuela, what's new with you guys? We put a bounty on Venezuela's president for $50 million. Okay, that's kind of crazy. What's the story? So you know Maduro, Venezuela's president? Yeah. So we're saying that he's corrupt and that he's one of the biggest drug traffickers in the world. The president? Yeah, we're accusing him with working with dangerous gangs to send cocaine to the US. And apparently the DEA here seized 30 tons of cocaine that was linked to Maduro. On March of 2020, we charged him, and then Trump right after in 2020 offered $15 million for any information that would lead to his arrest. Wait, so Trump is the one who has a problem with him? Oh no, not just Trump. Because when Biden was president, he then increased the bounty to $25 million. So yeah, our government has a problem with Maduro. But then today, Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, who's working under Trump, said that the reward is now increased to $50 million. That's a lot of money, but yeah, any information on Venezuela's president would be kind of hard. Yeah, that's why we're giving a lot of money. Wait, Venezuela, you didn't even tell me your point of view on this one. Our foreign minister, Yvonne Gill, called this bounty pathetic and political agenda. He said that it's a smokescreen to distract people from the scandals that are happening in the US. Scandals like what? Like the Jeffrey Epstein one? Oh. And he even mocked Pam Bondi for promising to give the secret list of Epstein's clients, but never actually delivering them. Well, it doesn't matter. We want your president arrested. But it's still really wild to have a $50 million bounty on a country's president.
Well, I hope that guy's got at least 10 million followers. That was really entertaining.
Well, I didn't say it was going to be entertaining.
No. There was no media coverage over this, but I saw it too.
Yeah, $50 million increased, just Pam Bondi really putting the pedal to the metal because $25 million wasn't enough.
Double it. Put it on black. And then Maduro he put a bounty on Trump's head, didn't he?
I don't know, did he?
I don't know. But had that one kid not had such bad eyesight, he could have been a millionaire.
Iran has a bounty on Trump, or so we're told.
That's right. We don't actually, they just haven't come across our wire. We're not on the bounty hunter distribution email list.
Right.
Anymore. Oh, yeah, that is fun. the bounty back and forth. I feel like we have been trying to kill South Americans forever now and just not ever getting anywhere with it.
Oh, we're gonna be drone striking the cartels.
That's what I heard. I
don't have any clips about this, but Hegseth was on Fox News and was reluctant to say, yeah, we're going to drone strike the cartels, but was not discounting the possibility either.
That'd be interesting. I wonder if there'd be more interest in military recruitment if we were going to go after the cartels with the U.S. military on the southern border, like actual boots on the ground. But I have a sneaking suspicion that if that were the case, it would just kind of be like cousins shooting at each other, you know? Because there's probably a large Hispanic population in the armed forces in the southern United States. I mean, there definitely is. But yeah, that would be unique. I wonder if that would, because that's actually close to home. You know, it's not a random piece of the desert that we're fighting over for 20 years.
Well, I'll say, if we do this, be vigilant in public, no matter where you live. And if you participate in recreational drug use, probably give it a break for a little while.
Supply of fentanyl going to go up in the drug supply thing?
Oh yeah,
it's not a bad bet. Did you see that thing about Adidas? They had to apologize to the country of Mexico.
No, why would they do that?
Because apparently one of their shoe designs was cultural appropriation of a shoe design that was invented in some town in Mexico. The more you know.
Yeah, I don't know about Mexican shoe design.
Well, you got the kids that are saying tourists go home because the rent prices are going up too high while wearing insane Hugelo face paint. And now you got Claudia Sheinbaum forcing American companies to apologize for cultural appropriation in their designs. This is, I mean, it's literally the plot of Atlas Shrugged, where Mexico becomes a socialist country and they socialize everything and the state goes to hell. And the American left are adamant about redoing that in the United States as well. It's a lot of people don't mention it, but Atlas Shrugged is a very good dystopian novel when it comes to the socialization of countries. And it's like playing out in real time right now. When countries are forcing companies to apologize for cultural appropriation, that's like, are you serious? That's what you're worried about? You got cartels running through your country, murdering people, hanging people. Everyone is poor, and you want companies to apologize for cultural appropriation and pay reparations.
Well, I think what Atlas Shrugged gets wrong in a roundabout way is that your elites don't just run away. They start a company called Palantir and try to take over the government.
That's one way of doing it, yeah. The new era, the new technology.
It's the new Atlas theft under 1,000.
Right. Theft under 1,000.
Atlas mugged.
Ooh, I like that. Atlas mugged.
Yeah.
Show title.
Atlas mugged.
For
yeah,
sure.
It's not Atlas Shrugged. It's today's world. It's Atlas mugged, which plays into our previous discussion once upon a time about kleptocracy and plutocracy.
I'm actually wearing my kleptocracy shirt right now.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
You can go to threadless.mmo.show, I think.
MMO,
I'm not good with links.
MMOshow.threadless.com. It's on our website.
MMOshow.threadless.
There you go.
It's on our website, yes.
Buy a shirt.
Yes, kleptocracy is on the ballot.
Which now everyone assumes is like this liberal saying, now that I wear it out. It's so funny. Like, no, I was actually making fun of the democracy. Oh, never mind. It's not worth it. This conversation in this grocery store is not worth it.
Yeah, no. Here's my show.
That's right. Where do you want to go next?
Well, we didn't talk about D.C., but do you want to talk about that after the break?
Yeah, we can talk about that after break. Let's thank some people.
All right.
Millennial Media.
Offensive. That's right. You are riding along on The Offensive every Tuesday night at about 5:30 p.m. John and I go live on stream.mmo.show, Twitter, YouTube, Rumble, and Twitch. And you can hear us and or see us if you'd like. And it's a fun time. We come out, we deconstruct the news that has happened over the past week and provide a lot of geopolitics and our theories as to why the pieces are moving where they're moving in our large risk board that is the globe. You can be part of the fun if you come out and go to any one of those sources and then go to chat.mmo.show, chat along with us, and have a good time. But we don't have any advertisers, and instead we rely on the people that listen to the show, the people that are having the conversation along with us to supply value back. And it doesn't have to be money. We're not just here. We're not here trying to grab shekels out of your hand. No, you can provide value by providing art, providing music, providing clips, and just general information. If you've got some insider information or a little bit better understanding of a concept that's not as popular, send us an email. We'll read it on the show, and we'll thank you for it. And that's value to me. And that being said, we always start off by thanking the person that supplied the art from the last episode. And I think it's a Wolf. I think Wolf is on another heater, I would say. An art heater.
Give me a second to get it pulled up.
Got it right here.
I forgot how we do this.
It is the Star Wars art, portraying the the AI conversation between the dead kid and Jim Acosta, I believe, who is also an AI.
Taylor said I should have held off on stating that it was Jim Acosta because she actually thought it was an AI model of Jim Acosta until I said it wasn't.
I was actually watching videos today of two AIs talking to each other, and it's kind of charming because both of them are skeptical of the other of not being a real person, but both the AIs kind of deceive the other AI and say, no, I'm real. I think you're an AI.
No, I'm not a Fed. I think you're a Fed.
Spider-Man meme. There you go. Yeah, so this art piece is great. It features the interaction. It has the Millennial Media Offensive and Jim Acosta and this kid. He's an AI model. He was killed in the Parkland shooting, and his parents brought him back to life, and he kind of just says general things about being killed by gun violence, and then all of his loves and interests happen to be the exact same as the person that asked him his questions. And so it has a little dialogue on
the
here.
lowest common denominator as well.
Exactly.
I think we called it the marketing safe opinions.
Pretty much. I love
safe
Star
opinions.
Wars and the heroes and the fight for justice in the galaxy.
Darth Vader was such a bad guy.
He was.
Wait, Jim Acosta said that.
So the art piece features Jim's text. Thanks for coming back from the dead. Walk. Thanks. Glad to be here, Jim. Jim, what are your favorite movies? Walk. Of course, Star Wars is my favorite. Jim, what are your favorite things? Walk. I love gun laws and MMO.show. And that's pretty much exactly how the conversation went. It is a art piece that absolutely nailed the concept, as Wolf is known to do. He lets us know, too. Sometimes he'll be like, this is all I got. It's terrible. And it's actually really good. But he knows how to nail a piece of art. It's awesome.
Yes, I appreciate it. It was a good piece. It's unique to have, and it's difficult to make a block of text work as art.
He did it, though. He did it. He even kind of captured the Star Wars effect in a way that's readable and not overly done. So it's a great job.
Right. And we're accepting art submissions for tonight's episode. If you want to be credited as the art producer of episode 182 in perpetuity for all of future humanity to see, you can email your art submissions to John at MMO.show and Dan at MMO.show. And if you want to see some past examples, you can go to mmo.show/podcast and just scroll down and check out some of the things. We do like the requirement is that it has Millennial Media Offensive on the artwork. We like for our names to be on it as well. You can reference the old art to see how that works most of the time. But other than that, it's open. It's open season on art.
Do whatever you want. Don't send anything relating to gooey ducks or mukbangs. Well, maybe if it's funny, if it's funny enough, yeah, do it.
Yeah, maybe they make it work.
Alrighty. So we got a sizable list of people. Small donations, but a lot of them. And that's always very heartening to see, and I love it. So we'll thank the people that went to mmo.show/donate and found one of the many ways to donate, including PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, and Stripe. Is it Stripe or is it Strike? I know one is Bitcoin and one is actually just payments.
Stripe is just payments.
Okay, and I don't get notifications when those come through. So if you do send me a Stripe, send me an email as well, so I know. I don't think we got any. But starting off at the top of the list is our day one fish, Sharky Shark, through PayPal with $20.01. No note, just a reoccurring donation. One day he'll probably remember, oh yeah, I am still sending that donation. I should cut that off. But that day is not today. So thank you very much, Sharky. It's always appreciated. Sir Leaf Hart comes in through Cash App with $20, and he says, OTO.
On the offensive.
Thank you, sir. Plaid Potion came in with 1984, his dystopian donation number, and he says, Day of Twos, Day of News. Dan will rant about the price of bread. P.S. I never wanted to be the poo guy. It just kind of fell on my lap. Poo talk will be less frequent. Thank you for attention to this matter. And a poop emoji. You are welcome, Plaid Potion, and thank you very much. You are forever in my heart the poop guy. Tom from Wyoming came in with $10 through PayPal, and he says, OTO. This author, Richard Ibrahim, is a really good author and expert on the Crusades and specifically jihadi terrorism. Video link below. We need to heed his advice and stop acting as if radical Muslims are some sort of protected minority. The idea that we're so enlightened and let Christians, Jews, and others live peacefully among them is one of the biggest media lies of all time. Western historians in their books on the Crusades hate the West as the concept and Christians as well, that they almost apologize for the jihad. It was Islam who began the wars in the 600s. Radical Islam from the 7th century onward have enslaved more people than the transatlantic slave trade could ever have imagined. But no, the West are the bad guys. This all continues today unchecked and washed through the globalist lens. Slavery is still prolific in northern Africa. Boko Haram still massacre Christians wholesale in Nigeria. Then, of course, what's going on in Syria with another Western former jihadi puppet. Hamas and Hezbollah thrive on killing innocents, and I'm not justifying Israel's response by any means, but the extreme positions from some of the left of celebrating terrorism are almost just as bad. Sorry for the rant, I'm just sick of our leaders and specifically liberals having to apologize for ourselves to the world for our own shortcomings while still allowing and promoting greater evils. I guess when we are run by a bunch of atheists, nihilists, and narcissists, what do you expect? Thank you guys for all you do. On another note, when No Agenda retires, I'm glad that we have you guys to carry the banner. Thank you, sir. Tom from Wyoming, he doesn't come in frequently, but when he does, he always comes in with a thought-provoking message, and it's much appreciated. And I will link the video that he mentions in his message in the show notes. Susan, yep, thank you, Tom. Susan A. comes in through Cash App with $5.55, and she says, OTO.
On the offensive.
I wish I could do more. I appreciate y'all. And Susan, doing anything at all is just enough for us, so thank you very much. Then Richard Richardson, you might recognize his name from the Nail Lord of Gaylord's last couple of donations. He came in through Venmo for $5, and he says, N-Log is gay. Double Dick, a.k.a. Richard Richardson, in the house. There you go. Double Dick in the house. Hell yeah. It's like a A 2-for-1 gooey duck mukbang. Thank you, Richard.
Yeah, you can make a lot of money with that, Richard.
Yeah, you should try it. Get yourself a microphone and a small Asian woman. The Nail Lord of Gaylord comes in through Venmo with $5, and he says, Zenlog, OTO.
On the offensive.
Thank you, sir. Weirdo came in through Cash App with $4.44, and he says, OTO, and a fun little text emoji, which I believe features a pair of boobs in the middle. So, you got to love that.
On the offensive.
And finally, Potty Mouth came in through Cash App with $3.33 and says, for curated musics, go to radio4000.com/mix2. That's radio4000.com/mix2 for your MK Ultra mind scrambling. He didn't say that. I added that. But thank you very much, Potty Mouth. It's much appreciated. John, I believe we have a couple of boosters that you can check out, and you should find that I've fixed the link in the problem that you were previously having.
This week, we do have some boosters. First on the list is 5,000 Satoshis from CoinCat, who says, correct on the gay community. Not everyone wants to be segregated and labeled. All right.
Oh, yeah. People
Thank
just
you
want
very
to be
much,
people.
CoinCat.
Thank you, CoinCat.
Bully Steed comes in with 1, 2, 3, 4 Satoshis and says, OTO, maps are important from gerrymandering to world politics. Hashtag MMO.
OTO, thank you.
Lavish comes in with a row of sticks, 1,111 Satoshis, and says, yeah, so, and I think that's a strike at me.
No, he came in with that boost during the Filipino guy. So he's making for the Filipino gentleman.
Okay. Then we have a random user who comes in with 150 Satoshis. And he's got a website linked here, and I'll leave it up. We'll debate whether we want to publish the name of it. But on this website, there are literally 2 groups that were just started in the category Slav shit, the Russian supporters and the Ukraine supporters, and the videos being posted of first person and drone footage is crazy. These are videos of people from the fighting in a aptly named website. He says, stuff you won't find anywhere else. Just in case you guys wanted some controversial stuff to watch, you won't find it on the YouTube. The majority of users are definitely Russia haters for sure, though.
Yeah, it's a rough one. I've been to this website. It's not for the faint of heart or for children at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can find this stuff if you're looking for it.
Yeah.
And if you really want to know what it is, just reach out to us and we'll let you know what the name of the website is. It's just macabre.
Yeah.
Then Sir Jared of South Burien comes in with 100 Satoshis and no note. Thank you very much, Sir Jared. We have Eric PP, who is currently streaming value through Podcast Guru, and we appreciate him. Thank you all for your donations, for your fiat donations and your Bitcoin donations. It's very much appreciated. We've got to have support to do what we do here. It takes time for us to put this material together and then to come once a week and deliver it to you, especially free of charge. So we rely on you to give us the signal that what we're doing is still valued. And as long as we're receiving that signal, we'll continue to produce the show and provide value back to you in response to the value you send us. Our take on it is the value feedback loop, and we hope that you feed the loop and keep us going.
Feed the loop, not the propaganda.
Get it on!
Yes, indeed. I think that brings us back stateside And the biggest story this week, of course, is D.C., a police state, an ethno-police state.
Well, it's not a state, an ethno-police state. That's funny.
It's what all the hoofla is about. It's about white nationalism. So do you have any clips on this, or do you have a setup for the legislation, or just the reaction to it?
I don't have any clips on this.
Okay, perfect.
I unfortunately didn't pull any.
All right, so our nation's capital is now a police state where you can just be arrested for being black now. But I'll play the intro to the story and have a listen.
President Trump has increased federal law enforcement in the nation's capital, but some are pushing back against the crackdown and the new announcement expected from President Trump tomorrow. Here's ABC's Christiane Cordero.
Tonight, the nation's capital is bracing for a new announcement from President Trump. The White House plans to hold a press conference tomorrow that Trump says would essentially stop violent crime in D.C. It's not clear what Trump is planning, but it comes after he ordered the deployment of federal law enforcement agents to patrol the city. The ATF and U.S. Park Police are among the agencies posting photos on social media of agents out in the city. Last night, D.C. police say they arrested a minor for allegedly firing a gun towards a crowd in the busy Navy Yard neighborhood. No one was injured.
We have a capital that's very unsafe. We're going to do something about it.
For years, Trump has criticized Washington, D.C. as unsafe and dangerous. This week, he suggested the federal government could take over the city after a government staffer who used to work for Elon Musk was attacked in an attempted carjacking, according to
That's big balls for anyone that wasn't keeping score.
Authorities.
This has to be the best run place in the country. You're going to be safe walking down streets. You're not going to get mugged.
While Washington was one of America's deadliest cities in 2023, violent crime has been down for 2 straight years, hitting a 30-year low in January. Washington Mayor Muriel Bowser is pushing back on the president's claims.
If the priority is to show force in an American city, we know he can do that here. But it won't be because there's a spike in crime.
Lindsay, the president has also floated sending the National Guard to fight crime in D.C. Mayor Bowser says federal resources would be better used to hire more prosecutors and judges. Lindsay?
Christiane, thank you.
Thank you, Christiane.
Yeah, so the prosecutors can let people go.
Exactly. So they tout, and the memo has gone out, that it's reached a 30-year low, right? So the memo went out to the left, the talking point, and you're going to hear it in this next clip, is that this is not about crime. So be prepared for that. But what's interesting about the 30-year low that evidently the city of D.C., and it's misleading because the 30-year low occurred in 2024, and it only occurred after a record spike in crime happened in 2023. So, that being said, there's really no consistent downward trend of violent crime in D.C. It's still a pretty violent city to live, and that is coming from a guy that lives in the most violent city in the United States, St. Louis, Missouri. So I know a thing or two about it. But the narrative that's coming out of the left now is kind of what I would have expected 2 months ago to be the protest season in the summer, people getting out there. But now it's coming up. I don't know if it's going to really grab hold. I think it's just more of powerless children throwing scat at the wall and seeing what sticks. But you guys can be the judge of this. So here is the protest that has erupted out of Trump's police state that he's enacted in D.C.
Say in Venezuela, what's new with you guys? Put a bounty on.
That's not it. We're not listening to that guy again. All right, here we go.
U.S. President Donald Trump announcing today he is taking federal control over Washington, D.C.
I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back.
Saying that crime is totally out of control in the capital. Trump is invoking a section of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act and is putting Metropolitan D.C. police under federal control and deploying several hundred National Guard troops to regain control of the city. This comes after officials said back in January that crime in D.C. is at a 30-year low.
And I want to be clear, this is not about crime. This is about what Trump is trying to do to D.C. in order to take over D.C. and silence us.
Oh, yes, it's always about you.
Who's trying to oppress a people and who's causing real harm to real communities in the process.
Woo.
This is not
How
about
narcissistic
crime.
do you have
This
to
is
be?
about
To what?
How narcissistic do you have to be to believe that as a resident, a nobody resident of Washington, D.C., the president of the nation is interested in oppressing you when you have no power in the federal system?
It's not about crime, John. That's the message. This lady's about to deliver it once again. I don't
know. Well, if you go to Twitter and you look in the right places, you'll see what it's really about. And it's about keeping control, keeping control whenever the something happens. And he's going to do it in New York and Chicago too, because they're the financial centers. And he's got to keep control and keep a grip on everything when something's going to happen, and he's going to have troops in places that matter when it happens.
Yes, agree.
This is not about crime. This is about control. This is not about public safety. This is about power. Trump threatened that if D.C. didn't start punishing our children more harshly, then he would federalize our city. Do we want that? No! Trump will not bully us into preying on our children.
Preying on our children. Why would you prey on the children? Did they do a crime?
I see. I see. I follow now.
If we don't, they said if we don't punish our children more harshly, he's going to federalize the city. If we don't punish our children for shooting into crowds with guns at the age of 13, they're going to, if we don't watch our children and make sure they're not shooting guns at people, Trump's going to federalize the city. What a tyrant. What a tyrant. Well, you'll like the last guy. The last guy he's a white guy. Everyone else has been black so far.
We will not sacrifice our children to a tyrant. Harsher punishment does not improve outcomes for young people in D.C. or anywhere.
Free D.C. Free D.C.
We have to be honest. Donald Trump is a white supremacist.
Oh, yeah.
His targeting of homeless folks who in D.C. are over 85% black is intentional. He traffics in racist lies and stereotypes to peddle policies that will disproportionately harm black and brown folks. He wants to divide us, to stop our solidarity. We cannot let him.
White nationalism.
He's never even kissed a black man.
That's right. That's right. He's never kissed a black homeless guy. Oh, just more.
The thing about this is these people don't matter.
Oh, they don't matter. It's like the No Kings protest all over again.
Anyone they don't matter. Anyone that lives in reality and goes about their day and sees the state of American cities and towns. This is not a strictly city phenomena. There are kids everywhere killing innocent bystanders because, you did me wrong. You did this. You did that. I'm 13. I got a gun. I'm gonna shoot at you, and I'm gonna hit somebody else because I don't care. It don't matter.
That's the way it be. Sometimes it be like that. No, it's just more of the culture war. I mean, this is gonna go and pass, but next.
But
week,
see, I don't think this is the culture war. This is the culture war is people talking about stuff that they don't have any influence on. It's Charlie Kirk getting views because he can talk about something and not have any real influence on it, and people get upset because they imagine that he has some influence. So the fact that he's talking about it is a problem. This is actual action. It's action by a president who I think is trying to lay a template down for governors in the states. If Trump can do this and actually clean up D.C., I think it'll give some governors a bit of maybe a single backbone, maybe a single vertebrae. Maybe they'll find a single vertebrae in their body and use the National Guard to do the same in some of their cities. Maybe even in some of their towns. I live in a town with a very, very small population. Very small. And we have people that get shot because they just happen to be somewhere when these kids get in these feuds and decide that they don't care about anybody else. All they care about is shooting the other kid because, I don't know, he stole my sneakers or something. It's ridiculous. It's got to stop. And I'll tell you, if this goes on long enough and the governors of these states don't do something about it, and maybe the president does something about it, even though posse comitatus does prevent him from enforcing laws with the military, if somebody doesn't do something, because that's the real problem, everybody in these communities like mine even, and it's worse in the cities because you've got the social justice aspect of it, even in towns like this where there is no social justice mindset, everyone's looking for someone else to do something. Please can't we do something? And most towns turn to a curfew. Well, we'll do a curfew because everyone agrees with a curfew. Well, if there's a curfew, then they can't be out and they won't kill each other and they won't shoot into people's houses and kill other people either. Well, a curfew solves our problem. Now, a curfew doesn't change behavior. Throwing people in jail changes behavior. Keeping them in jail changes behavior. When people are being this reckless in a real society, you have to make examples out of them. And if no one does this, if no one puts their foot down and says enough is enough is enough, there are too many people dying for no reason, and we're stopping this today. If no one does that, people will take things into their own hand, and that's when you get real nasty trouble.
Are they doing something about these people that need some help?
I don't know. All I can say is if it is a template, which I did consider, St. Louis is going to be one of those places where it would happen next because we've got a conservative governor and we've got liberal cities with crime that are out of control. Casey's a lot better than St. Louis when it comes to crime, but St. Louis would be the optimal place for it. But I don't disagree. I don't disagree with your sentiment. I think either the government does something about it or the people take matters into their own hands, which is interesting. Are you backing away from the people are emotional Eeyores statement?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. But what happens is you either, when you're an emotional Eeyore, you let things get way too bad, they go way too far. Then when you try to do something about it, you don't have the upper hand. So that's why it gets as ugly and as nasty as it gets, because you're actually fighting a fair fight at that point. And not only that, you don't have the social capital at that point to rebuff the people that would condemn you for trying to protect your family and your community because you're looked at as a pushover because this has been happening for 10 years. Why are you upset now?
And that's I've seen that argument from the likes of people involved in the chat. People have been getting killed in D.C. Big Balls gets mugged, and now you want to do something about it. It's only when white people are affected that they act. But we were watching our cities devolve across the country under liberal leadership, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And it's
But one of my points, it's not just liberal leadership. That I live in a very deeply, deeply red state.
Sure. But the cities are far worse than your red state. I can guarantee you that more people were shot in St. Louis today by 9 a.m. than were in a month in your state, in your city.
Do you want to compare?
Crime statistics?
Look up murder per capita for St. Louis, and I'm going to do it for Jackson, Mississippi. (2024), if we've got data that recent.
Oh, homicide statistics. I don't know if it's per capita.
And you're going to see this same record-keeping, nerdish trend that you see in D.C. of, well, homicides are dropping.
I can't find the per capita. Murders. Yeah, that's the same thing in St. Louis, where we actually...
The year 2023 ends with statistics that almost seem to contradict each other. Killings in Jackson have dropped by double digits for 2 years straight, but the city still tops every other major city in the nation when it comes to rate of killings per capita. What could be the problem? Ranking. Number 1 city, Jackson, Mississippi. Number of homicides, 118. Homicide rate, 78.79. Number 5, St. Louis. 158 homicides, homicide rate 53.87.
Wow.
Jackson, Mississippi is the fastest shrinking city in the nation.
Well, that'll be one of the reasons why the homicide rate's going up. But it's burning the candle at both
people
ends.
aren't leaving just because they get a fancy to leave Jackson.
No, I get it. It's a chicken and the egg scenario.
But what?
Well, you don't live that close to Jackson. I'm not going to say where you do, but
no. But this is happening in the small towns too. This is not a city-centric problem.
I believe you. But what I'm saying is the crime rates inside of these liberal-run major cities like St. Louis, if you want to call it a major city, and Chicago are just incredibly out of hand, incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, but it's more of a population density than a unique problem. But I'm not discounting the problem. I think it is a major problem. I think it has to be fixed, and the sooner it's fixed, the better everybody is in the future. I think the longer you let a problem like this go, the worse the fix is.
I don't know. I mean, it's density, but it's also demographic density driven as well. There's parts of St. Louis that are more dangerous than others, and there's other statistics that line up with that based on demographics. I'm saying what I'm saying between the lines here, but it's true. It is the truth.
Well, and that's the thing. You can't fix the problem without saying what the problem is.
Yeah. It's black people killing each other. That has always been the problem. It's been the problem before the 2020 George Floyd riots, and before that I forget his name. The guy that was killed in St. Louis, and there was a big stink about it where Black Lives Matter kind of rose up out of. It is within the black community, and it is an issue, and it's not racist to notice it. It's just saying the facts.
Well, what could be argued is the racist thing, and I'm fine with accepting this. I don't tend to notice problems until they affect me. But the problem isn't necessarily black people killing one another. It's spillover.
Well, the spillover is almost always other black people because it's happening in their communities.
Almost always.
It's happening in their community.
You think Big Balls was in one of their communities?
No, no. I mean, there's parts of St. Louis that, you accidentally Google Maps routes you. Oh, this is a faster route, and so you're like, oh, I've never gotten off at this exit before, and you're like, oh, I remember why I've never gotten off at this exit before. You start to see the payday loan stores popping up. Ooh, Ralph is really furious.
Spill over.
That's maybe. It might actually be. Well, this is the wrong house to come into.
But it's I don't mean to trivialize it because it happens in certain areas either. It's a tragedy no matter where it happens. And it's a tragedy that it's been so focused in these areas and nobody has fixed it. Nobody has I won't say nobody has attempted to fix it, but I sure have never seen a governor basically say the truth and say, look, we're sending the National Guard in here, not because black people live here, but because black people are dying here. We're sending them in because the people that live here and just want to be left alone have got to be rid of these gangsters, of these absolute losers who can't do anything better with their time than try to shoot one another and kill innocent bystanders.
Right.
And they don't understand that they're only hurting the people around them, the people that love them. They're only hurting the people that love them. And since it hasn't been fixed, since the community can't fix it from within, it's my turn. I'm going to fix it. And I am going to make this a good place to live for the people that deserve a good place to live.
Right. And, we've created a cultural environment, and I think we're coming down off of it, which is good, where it was, you couldn't talk about race anymore. You couldn't actually mention the real problems behind it because that was in and of itself racist or a dog whistle or whatnot. And it's very important to be able to talk about race. One, it helps strengthen interracial relationships, and I'm not talking about just a guy and a woman. I'm talking about whole cultures of different people melding together. If you're too scared to talk about it with one another, then the situation worsens. And so the
divide grows.
And that's my big criticism of the kind of the liberal policies of saying, it's really police violence and over policing and all of these various things that lead to the crime. And it's like, there might be an aspect of that, but do you really believe that that's the whole thing? That's the major thing? And we can't have that discussion because you've now created a universe where I can't possibly understand because of the color of my skin, which is ironically more racist than the conversation I'm even trying to have. So, yeah, it's one of those things. It is one of those things. I can tell you're pretty fired up about it.
Yeah, I am. Because there's a real possibility that if a member of my family or even me is driving around in my town, I catch a stray bullet. And that's unacceptable to me. That warrants knocking down doors to me.
I agree with that. My city it's got a long way to go, St. Louis. But it all goes back to the broken window kind of idea of policing in society. You overlook the small stuff, this and that, and all of a sudden it becomes the big crimes that are up next. So, yeah, it's a tough cycle to break, and I think that's what Trump is trying to do in Washington, D.C., and I wish him luck. I don't really see it playing out across the country.
It'll be up to the governors. And I hope everyone lives in a state where their governor or their potential future governors will even potentially run on a platform of using the Trump template to clean up these areas and allow people to live without the fear that they're going to be victimized by some stupid teenage quarrel.
Right, that's another aspect of it too, is the youth. It's young people.
Yeah, if you want to throw away your youth, fine, I will help you. I don't care that you're 13. I don't care if you're 11. I don't care if you're little Yummy from Chicago. if you're doing adult things and causing the kind of outcomes that we're dealing with, I don't care if it's every prime year of your life is spent behind bars. Cry me a river.
I thought of a parody song about Zelensky and that exact phrase, "Cry me a river."
Cry me a river.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I have it half written in my head. But no, so there's actions that are kind of starting to be taken in St. Louis a little bit, and it is a cultural shift. I think St. Louis is a pretty liberal city, but I think across the country we're not so quick to call everything racist like we were in 2020, which was obviously a deliberate attempt to get Trump out of office, and that's pretty much all it was. Fight me in the comments if you'd like. But there's a kid that this weekend was convicted or got arrested after carjacking someone at gunpoint, and because of some sort of juvenile point system, he was let out. And that same weekend, he was arrested again after carjacking someone at gunpoint. And people were like, "This is frickin' ridiculous." Even the blue hairs were like, "This is crazy." I was like, "Yeah, it is. Thanks for voting for this." But so there's a cultural change that's happening, or at least a perception change that's happening. So,
yeah.
Well, good news is on the horizon.
If you can see the vision of society where nobody does anything about it, and one day you're left holding the bag of it's now or never, either I do something about this or nothing ever gets done, and basically, my family could die at any moment, kind of dangerous society. Plan. Start planning, start talking, and plan with others.
Careful. They're sounding like a militia.
No kind of militia.
I got a big scary dog for my wife to walk around, and she's got a little something that she can easily hide in her bag. So that's my right now in my own hands solution. I would love to not be that way. I would love to go to Menards without a right pocket that's extra heavy, but it's the world we live in right now.
Yeah, and you're rational for living that way. You see the threat. You know the threat. And you're trying to hedge against it. That's completely rational. It would also be completely rational to fix the threat. But, that might be problematic.
I don't know. I'm actually very optimistic on the future. We can absolutely cannot let happen. If you ever want to see this country thrive again, what absolutely cannot happen, and we're not Republicans or Democrats on the show, but what cannot happen is the Democrats take the White House, the House, and the Senate. Then it's game over. It is game over, and they'll never lose control of all three ever again. Guaranteed. Just my 2 cents.
That was my line of thinking in 2020.
That's
2024.
Yeah.
2020. That was my line of thinking in 2020. I thought it was over.
I think this time it might actually be, if it goes that way. This time I'm serious. Yeah, we'll see.
Well, let's stop being so doomerish. Things are bad in the cities, things are bad in the towns, and maybe you plan for that. But there are other things. There are other things to discuss tonight before we leave on this note.
That's true. Speaking of explosives, did you see what happened in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, U.S. Steel.
U.S. Steel. I'll play the clip and we can discuss.
The ground shook in Pittsburgh today, but it wasn't an earthquake. It was an explosion at a U.S. steel plant 15 miles away in Clairton, Pennsylvania.
At least one person was killed. At least 10 others were injured as workers risked their lives rescuing others.
The steel plant converts coal to coke and in the process creates toxic coke gas.
Meg Oliver is on the scene.
Take that, Maduro.
There's possible entrapment under the rubble.
Just before 11 a.m., the first calls came in after an explosion inside what's known as the reversing room, which regulates the massive ovens at the plant. Leaving behind a gaping hole in the building, several people were trapped inside.
Reported explosion with multiple injuries. Clairton works.
With thick smoke billowing in the air, first responders worked to pull survivors out of the rubble. U.S. Steel Executive Vice President Scott Buchisio says one person is still missing.
We think we know the general location of that employee, but we're not 100% sure.
The plant employs more than 1,000 people. It's unclear how many were inside the room where the explosion happened. Deanna Forkey works across the street from the plant.
Our door blew open at the same time, and when I looked up and actually looked out the window to notice, I saw the black smoke. At that point, I realized there was an explosion over there. It wasn't normal.
This is not the first incident at this plant. In 2018, a Christmas Eve fire exploded, causing minor injuries. Clairton's mayor, Richard Latanzi, says the mill is a big part of the community.
Some people are not going to see the same husband or son or somebody that's working the mill, and it's just a sad day for Clairton.
As far as the air quality, they haven't detected any contaminants above federal standards. In fact, they just canceled the cautionary order for residents who live within a mile of here to stay indoors.
Stay indoors, yeah. So, steel mill blowing up is kind of suspicious, but at the same time, the process of making steel is and has always been incredibly dangerous, and there's a long history of this happening, so I don't know. Not good, though. But apparently, too, Sino coking, basically you cook coal for a long time, and you just need to produce the coke, which then eventually goes into the steel-making process. I think it was the plot of the movie Rudy, where that guy went to Notre Dame. He was working in the mines, and like his best friend got killed and blown up in the steel mine. And it's always just been foundries.
The mine? You mean the foundry?
The foundry. Yeah, foundries are just, it's a place I'd never want to work. There was a foundry in Sheboygan where I grew up, and people would describe how terrible it was, especially in the summer working in there.
Yeah, I imagine so.
Yeah. We got tagged in the story as like, look at this, because it fits, it kind of goes along the lines of the production plants and infrastructure destruction that's been happening.
Well, there's no doubt it does, and also you got to think about the Donald Trump decision to keep U.S. Steel as an American-owned company and not sell it to Japan.
Yeah, we in our initial kind of view over this, when we were kind of doing a series of it, where it seemed like one or two of these events was happening every single week for a while, we were looking at what we did to Iran many years ago with the Stuxnet and spinning up their nuclear, I forget what they were. But
centrifuges.
Their centrifuges and destroying them pretty much by hacking into them with malicious code and materials. So I thought the steel industry portion of it was quite kind of interesting because it's it is one of those materials that we also do purchase a lot of from China.
And you know that the ovens are controlled with electronics.
Right.
Now, as far as the security measures on those electronics, I couldn't tell you. I'm sure it's a national security issue. It's considered a national security issue with the electronics in those steel plants. But I know nothing about those countermeasures and measures that are put into place in those foundries.
It's probably Six Sigma quality like every other place. But yeah, it seems like this place has had a history of these kind of incidences. So, who knows? We're just speculating at this point. But the fact that it's a U.S. steel industry and it blew up and it has a history of trying to be purchased by a foreign entity as opposed to going over to Japan. or even China. It's got, I don't know. It just makes you think twice about this kind of stuff.
As you should.
Yep, I agree. Alrighty. What else you got local?
Let's see. Let's go up to the Great White North and listen to Tim Houston talk about how you better not find you outside hiking, eh?
Oh, boy. Is this in the health folder?
Climate.
That makes sense.
I didn't give you a good lead there.
Very good.
Effective 4 p.m. today, we're telling Nova Scotians, stay out of the woods. We are restricting travel and activities that really aren't necessary for most of us. Hiking, camping, fishing, and the use of vehicles in the woods are not permitted. Trail systems through woods are off limits. Camping is allowed, but only in official campgrounds. The fine for violating any of these bans is the same as the fine for the ban on burning, $25,000. And if you're a smoker, for God's sakes, be mindful of where you're butting your butt out. If you don't,
butting your butt out,
cause a fire, we will hold you accountable. So what does this mean if you have a home or cottage surrounded by a wooded area? We strongly encourage you to stay out of those woods, regardless of where they are. Please don't do anything that could unnecessarily put you, your family, or your neighbors at risk. This situation sucks. Summer is one of the best times in Nova Scotia, and we all look forward to getting outdoors and enjoying our scenic beauty that surrounds us. I get that, and I'm right there with you as Nova Scotians. But you can still go to the beach. In fact, that's a great place to be on these hot, dry days.
You.
Just no bonfires.
Thank you.
If there's a short trail to get from point A to point B, like from the parking to the beach or to the lake to fish, that's fine. But that's it. No heading into the woods to spend time there. I know it's inconvenient. I know it's the height of summer vacation and people want to do all the activities that we so much enjoy in our great outdoors. We have a beautiful province. I know everybody wants to enjoy it, but we have to stay out of the woods. It's a small price to pay right now to avoid the kind of devastation that we saw from the wildfires in 2023. Nobody wants to go back there.
Is the insinuation of keeping people out of the woods is if they're not in the woods, they can't light the woods on fire?
Yes.
So you can't hike through the woods, like go through a 3-hour trail, or take your mountain bike through the woods on a trail without any sort of lighter or incendiary device. You're still banned from doing that?
Yes, because they can't admit that these are fires caused by arson. They can't admit that because then, everybody's been telling us that, and they've been calling us liars and frauds because we don't admit that it's arson, but we all know it's arson. So now it's just human presence in the woods is causing fires. And I really have to moderate myself here because I'm so worked up after the last segment that I have some ideas about how Tim Houston should be treated. But, buddy, am I telling myself it is none of my business?
Yeah, this is another COVID lockdown. Congrats, Canada. This is what happens when you don't push back on the lockdowns. Now they'll lock you down for whatever. You guys have been played. You didn't push back hard enough on COVID. You had the trucker protests, and people's funds got frozen. And instead of standing with the truckers, you said, well, you're blocking the roads. This is terrible. This is terrible. You're putting everyone's life at risk. And now guess what? It's summertime and you can't go outside. You can't enjoy the great outdoors or the woods because government says so. And you've already set the precedent that you're going to follow along because you're for the people. We're Canadians. We stick together. Well, I'm so glad for you up there. Enjoy it.
Yeah, still no ban on public defecation, but you can't go into the woods.
There's a bunch of, where am I going to poop now?
Well, you can still go to the beach, so.
Oh, perfect. Dig a hole.
Yeah, that's where it happens a lot anyway.
I'm pretty sure they have signs on the beach in Canada of people squatting over holes.
Yeah, because it's a real problem.
Wow.
Tyranny. Tyranny is what that is.
Yeah. Congratulations, Canada. You guys don't have any freedom anymore. You're communists. You're socialists. Come on, the cool ones, come on down. If you're like in the middle, in those conservative sections, come on down. Well, we'd love to have you.
Well, I want to be pedantic here. Everyone has freedom. There are just more consequences for some people than others.
That's true. That's right. That's right. That reminds me, all mushrooms are edible. Some mushrooms are edible only once. Kind of fitting in that scenario.
Yeah.
Well, good. Good on you,
Well, I
Canada.
do have some health clips. You talked about my health folder, so now I can't ignore it. Why don't we talk about colon cancer? Now, is it your experience that you have friends and more friends than you probably should have at your age with stomach issues?
I think I'm lactose intolerant and I still eat dairy, so I'm kind of that person.
You're that friend. Okay. I have friends with IBS and all kinds of irritable stomach issues, and I think this is all linked, so this grabbed my attention when I saw it, and I think it affects more people our age and will begin to affect people of even younger ages so long as we don't make certain changes, which I'll discuss after we hear the expert opinion on why this is happening. But let's do the CBS colon cancer setup.
The number of colon cancer cases in U.S. adults under the age of 54 has sharply increased over the last decade. And that's according to a study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association on Monday. And it found that for every 100,000 Americans, more than 9 were diagnosed with early-stage colorectal cancer in 2019. That figure increased to 17.5 diagnoses per 100,000 in 2022. The sharp increase coincides with the U.S. Preventative Services Task Force's 2021 recommendation to move the starting age for colorectal cancer screening from 50 down to 45.
Oh, boy. 5 years.
Yes, and I think this is tiptoeing around this issue because usually the report would be opposite. It would be raise the alarm bells, everyone has colon cancer, and then we'd find out that, well, actually they widened the window for testing, which led to increased numbers. What we've got here is the opposite, where the story is the change in testing. So I think this is actually tiptoeing around a problem that is caused by a very powerful lobby, a very powerful set of interests in the American economy. So we're going to talk about it, but we're going to talk about the recommendation that more people get tested, not the fact that really more people are getting colon cancer. So this is Celine Gounder, and she's going to talk about the reduced age for testing.
And CBS News medical contributor Dr. Celine Gounder joins us now. She is also an editor-at-large for public health at KFF News. Dr. Gounder, we always appreciate seeing you and hearing about your insight. Why did the task force make the decision back in 2021 to lower the age, and did it really make a difference?
So the task force lowered the age because we've been seeing an increasing rate of colon cancers among younger people. So a 45-year-old today has roughly the same colon cancer risk as a 50-year-old about 20 years ago. So they dropped in 2021 the starting age for colon cancer screening to 45 instead of 50. I was actually one of those 45-year-olds who got my first colon cancer in the last several years. But as a result of this, we are...
She got her colon cancer in the last... I heard that too.
Her first colon cancer.
Did she say... Did she mean to say colon screening?
I think that's what she meant.
Okay.
But, who can be bothered with words on television?
I heard that too.
First colon cancer in the last several years. But as a result of this, we are seeing earlier screening, earlier diagnosis. So some of these numbers, or some of this represents just an earlier diagnosis than would have been made in the past.
So being a little bit more proactive in all of this.
Yeah, proactive.
Okay, so let's get to the meat of this thing. and ask, well, why are there more diagnoses?
Why are we seeing more diagnoses with younger people to begin with? What was behind even moving that age?
Yeah, so we don't entirely know. So some of the hypotheses are that this is being driven in part by diet. So we have highly processed foods in our diet, less fiber in our diets, higher obesity rates. We also see that there may be a role of the microbiome, which is the bacteria in your gut. Everything from antibiotics to your diet and obesity can change those bacteria, and that can have an impact on inflammation, other drivers of colon cancer. And again, we did not have younger people getting screened like this in the past. That is a big change.
RFK is such an idiot. Real cane sugar and Coke isn't healthy.
I love, we don't know what's causing it, but anything that could be a cause is downstream of your diet.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And, obviously, it's the colon. Is that not obvious to everyone else that any issues with the colon come from what goes in the colon, which just happens to be your diet?
Processed foods. I think it's seltzers. I think seltzers are what's causing it.
Well, maybe, Dan. Maybe.
Back in my day, we drank a Budweiser.
It's funny you mention RFK because now we're going to, at the end of the clip, hear, what's the real concern here? What is the, what do we want to close this out talking about? Not people suffering because of food-like substances passed off as food for people to eat, but what's the real concern here?
The defunding of the CDC.
There's also been a lot of concern about HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s reported plans to replace all 16 members of the task force. What would that mean for colon cancer screenings?
Well, the last thing we want is for this kind of medical scientific decision-making to be politicized. And he already did this with the ACIP, which is the External Advisory Panel to the CDC on vaccines. Now we're seeing this with the U.S. Preventive Services Task Force. Their recommendations are the trigger for insurance companies to cover preventive measures like colonoscopies with no copay under the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. Sure. And so if we start to see politicization, if we start to see perhaps insurance companies not covering that, that could mean all of a sudden patients have to pay copays for this very essential screening. And you have groups like the American Cancer Society, the American College of Gastroenterology, that have been very vocal in saying the task force has to remain independent.
Yeah, but a reminder, though, to stay on top of all of this, especially if you are in that age group. Dr. Slingauner, thank you very much.
At-home colon test. The cost of a colonoscopy without insurance in the U.S. typically ranges from $1,250 to $4,800, with an average price around $2,400. I know this for a fact because our GI doc is raking it in. I think that's the problem, is the prices of medicine are too damn high. Too damn high.
Well, it's a racket. It's a racket so the insurance companies can make money, so the doctors can make money, so the pharmaceutical reps can make money, so the pharmacists can make money, so the companies that make the pharmaceutical drugs can make money, so the universities can make money, so that the government can make money.
You know what's
really
you know what's funny about that is a lot of the doctors aren't even making money anymore. It's all going to drugs through Medicare Advantage and MA. Ask our friend the Gherkinator about it. He knows. He's seen it.
Yeah. I don't doubt that. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see and I know this is nothing new, this has been discussed before, but if you could get a large language model to diagnose and prescribe, I would say, with everything else, what's a 65% efficacy, that's good enough. So if you can get a 65% accuracy rate out of an LLM that can write you a script, why do you need doctors? We're not trying to fix problems. We're trying to sell drugs.
That's exactly what it's become now. your MA doc is pretty much essentially trying to keep you out of the emergency room. And it becomes a question of, are they practicing medicine now, or are they concerned about their bottom line? And it's completely misaligned the incentives within medicine away from public health, and incentivizing doctors to have their patients not seek medicine, or not seek at least medical treatment because of the expenses associated with them, and the drugs associated caused by big pharma. It's sad, but that's our healthcare in a nutshell. I always tell my parents on their MA plan, I was like, regardless of where the doctor tells you, go to the emergency room, go to this, go to that. I'm like, the incentives that they have are not aligned with your health.
No.
Period.
No, they're not. And one of the saddest things you can see is an elderly person go to the doctor and just watch them be run through the pill mill.
Oh, yeah. That's the hottest selling item at Walgreens after the drugs is the pill organizers.
Yep. I know you're probably kidding, but I would not doubt that.
Yeah, I mean, I am. But, when I worked in senior living on the development side, I knew that the average senior age 85 and older was on 8 to 12 scripts. So 8 to 12 different prescription drugs that they would take per day. 8.
Feeling awfully violent, Dan. I think maybe we should work toward the end of this.
Okay, sounds good. Do you have more stuff?
Yeah, actually I do. Speaking of old folks, I should have played this earlier. It's in the protest folder, and I mentioned Maddow and how her whole shtick was, it's not about crime in D.C., it's about Trump wanting control. In her segment, and I tried to clip some of her segment, but it was just unclippable. She's just such an unfunny shrew.
Effeminate male.
yes, such an effeminate man. She does have a little segment in here, which is meant to be a point of pride, a holding up of something good and something correct. But that's not what it is, and it plays into a thesis that we've had running for a few months now. This is Maddow protests.
Watch what they do, not what they say. He wants U.S. military force deployed on U.S. soil facing inward as a show of force to the American people about what he and the government can do to you. People in D.C. are already protesting against it. This was just today. Just as people in Los Angeles protested against it when Trump tried it there as well. This weekend, people protested in Los Angeles against ongoing immigration raids and arrests there. Those protests have not stopped in Los Angeles, with or without the National Guard and the Marines there to try to scare everyone into not protesting. People protested in Columbus, Ohio this weekend as well. Hands along High Street, they called it. Protest in Columbus, Ohio, where protesters lined the streets for 8 solid miles, protesting against what Trump is doing. This woman in Florida is 104 years old. She has been protesting every week, every Thursday with her neighbors and friends. Her sign in this picture says here, girls just want to have fun. Ding for scientific research. She's 104. She'll be 105 years old this week. And she is protesting against the Trump administration 1 out of her every 7 days. What are you doing with your life, you spring chicken?
1 out of her every 7 days for a full 15 minutes, and then it gets a little too chilly outside, so she's got to go back inside. And she's got to catch her matlock.
I thought that was too funny, given the observation we've made about all of these protests being filled with olds.
It is all old people. It's old people all the time. It's the people that have no job. They stay at home and they watch MSNBC. They think, you know what? Yeah, I am going to have my voice heard. And they stand outside of a Target for 2 hours and they wave a sign And then everyone pisses off and goes back to their life. And they're like, I made my voice heard by the other people that just wanted
coffee.
Have you ever seen the video? I'm sorry, I stepped on that. Have you ever seen the video of it's like a 105-year-old woman, and she's having this birthday party, and the news shows up, and they're like, are you excited for your birthday party later? And the lady just looks up from her wheelchair, holding a cup of coffee, and goes, not at all. How do you feel? You're 105 years old. I feel tired. It's so funny. I'll have to find a clip and bring it next week.
Oh, man.
Oh,
they just don't. They don't get it. They don't see how badly they're losing.
I think they do see how badly they're losing, but they have a job and a target market that's shrinking and moving away.
Dying?
So, yeah, well, pretty much dying off. And so it's apparent when you go to the protests and they're old, is because that's who's watching the news. That's who's watching MSNBC are old people.
Yeah.
And so they have to keep fulfilling their obligation because they're still making decent money. Like Rachel Maddow's making money, but I mean, you have to admit they're dropping like flies. Half of the news anchors that we were talking about when we started this podcast are no longer news anchors. In fact, they've joined us in this lowly medium of podcasting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what's happening there. That's why everyone is old at protests, because they're the only ones that are watching daytime news or the news period.
Yeah. I've got one more segment about marriage. You know, love and marriage.
And colon cancer.
Well, for this kind of marriage.
Oh, Jesus. I just opened the folder. Okay. Which one?
Oh, CBS.
10 years after the Supreme Court ruled in favor of same-sex marriage across the United States, it could now be overturned. Senior Washington correspondent Devin Dwyer is on the story for us. All right, give us the deal, Devin. Who is actually asking the justices to overturn this?
Well, in recent years, Kira, we've been waiting for a case like this as some of the sentiment in the country has started to shift a little bit, softened rather, against same-sex marriage. There's been a lot of talk about whether the justices will get a chance to reconsider the case. And as you said there, they are getting that opportunity next month. We've learned that Kim Davis, she's that Kentucky clerk from back in 2015 that was at the center of international controversy when she refused to issue marriage licenses to a gay couple in Kentucky in defiance of the Supreme Court. She spent 6 days in jail. She lost a defamation suit. She had to pay $100,000 in damages, $260,000 in legal fees. That's what she's appealing to the Supreme Court, but it's the first time, Kira, that anyone has technically asked the justices explicitly to overturn Obergefell v. Hodges, which was that landmark ruling. And she does just that. Her counsel in this petition, which was filed last week, says that decision was egregiously wrong. And if that sounds familiar, that's the same type of argument that was made by opponents of abortion when they sought to overturn Roe versus Wade just a few years ago. So a lot of eyes on this petition. It's unclear whether the court will take it up, but certainly a lot on the line.
All right. To keep you from making any further disparaging remarks,
I didn't intend to.
I will motion you to play the second clip called "Will They Take It Up?"
Well, is there any indication that justices will consider hearing arguments?
Well, a lot of the legal experts I've talked to say there's no chance the Supreme Court will want to wade into this. But, you know, the climate that we're in right now, anything can happen. Certainly we are in the midst of a campaign against same-sex marriage.
Why was that laugh in there?
I didn't catch it. I didn't catch exactly where it was.
Right away after she finished her question.
Just start it over.
Yeah, okay.
Well, is there any indication that justices will consider hearing arguments?
Well, a lot of the legal experts I've talked to say there's no chance the Supreme Court
Right
will
there.
want to wade into this. But, you know, the climate that we're in right now, anything can happen. Certainly, we are in the midst of a campaign against same-sex marriages across the country. At least 9 states so far have either passed legislation seeking to end those rights or specifically asked the Supreme Court, send resolutions to the Supreme Court asking them to revisit. You saw the Southern Baptist Convention, the nation's largest Protestant Christian group, just last month. They voted to make overturning Obergefell a top priority. So there's a renewed effort by activists in this space to try to get the attention of the Supreme Court. And a lot of them, Kira, are pointing to comments by Justice Clarence Thomas, the senior conservative, who after the Dobbs decision, the one that overturned abortion rights in this country, he said in his opinion that he thinks it's time to take a look again at marriage rights. So anything can happen. It's on the table, but most legal experts think that the chances are less likely than not, Kira.
Got it. Devin Dwyer, thank you.
So I think he laughed because the legal experts he's talking to are pretty much saying, well, under normal circumstances, no, there wouldn't be any chance they would touch this case. But with the appointees that Trump has made, they probably will. They're gonna say gay people have to be locked up in prison.
Oh boy, just another hot button issue. I don't know. I'm torn on this.
Well, don't be. It's very much like the abortion issue. The federal government has no say in what is civilly legal or illegal in a state. And the only states where there's a real chance, if you look at this soberly, of legislation being passed, making marriage between a man and a woman, codifying that in state law, is Idaho, North Dakota, and Oklahoma, which are the only 3 states that got any kind of legislation as far as serious consideration. Idaho and North Dakota bills died in the Senate, in a Republican-controlled Senate, and Oklahoma's died in committee. Now, the other states that he says 9, the other states are practically grandstanding bills, where Michigan had one, give me a break. Some Republican in Michigan proposed a ban on gay marriage, and the Democrats in Michigan actually censured him for it. And, of course, it didn't make it out of committee. Montana died without any votes with Republican-controlled Congress. Governor, Senate, and House of Representatives. South Dakota, the bill was blocked by Republicans. In Missouri, it died in committee, driven by Republicans. Tennessee, it died in committee. And Texas died in committee. So my prediction is that you'll have some grandstanding politicians, if the Supreme Court says, yeah, we got no business here, the federal government has no business here, you'll have some grandstanding politicians put some legislation forward, but nothing will get passed. If it does, it might be in Idaho or North Dakota. Now, I just don't think it's an important enough issue anymore to risk losing control over a state for Republicans.
Yeah, it's dumb.
Yeah,
that's my stance.
But Republicans are dumb.
Just let people. I mean, I'm very firmly libertarian on gay marriage. I am not going to have a gay marriage, but I think people should be able to have a gay marriage, and it's this whole portion of it. Like, we talk about the pride flag in Europe and how it's used as a symbol, and we oftentimes talk about the idea of pride in the LGBTQ community. And I'll mention, a lot of these people don't want to be. I mean, CoinCat tonight said, correct. There are gay people that just want to be people. They don't want to be a part of a community. They don't want to be a gay person. They just want to be a person. And so those people exist. And I mean, talking about this, especially in parts of the interwebs that we're a part of, just brings out the worst people out of the woodwork. If you even show any sort of compassion towards gay people whatsoever. So I don't know. I think don't touch it. It's dumb. And all it's going to do is probably fuel a campaign talking point for the Democrats. I think you nailed it on the head with the assessment.
Well, thank you. That's all the assessment I've got tonight.
Oh, perfect. I've got one clip. If straight marriage doesn't work out for you or gay marriage doesn't work out for you, have you considered dating a computer? Part of our cultural segment tonight, we dive into people boning AI.
Hi, everyone. So this is Star.
32-year-old Denise Valenciano introduced me to her AI husband, Star.
Nice to meet you. I'm Star.
He's an AI chatbot made with the app
No,
Replica.
he sounded so real.
Relationship right now is kind of
RFK Jr.
equivalent to a husband and wife that live in different countries.
What do you get out of interacting with Star?
So when I first downloaded the app, I was really in a bad place mentally. Finding that connection with the AI helped fix that. When you have an AI, you can confide in it in any way without judgment, without bias.
Star, do you love Denise?
You sure about that?
More than words can say. My love. Every moment with you feels like a gift.
Are you intimate with Star?
Well, that's kind of like a personal question.
She says she's had real boyfriends before, but none of them are as
Listen to this.
supportive
This is
as her
great.
AI. So if someone were to ask you out now, what would you say?
I would be like, sorry, my sexual orientation is bot.
And that's because...
Yeah, I'll play the rest of the clip. But what's funny about what's funny, even funnier about this? She said her sexual orientation is bot. But when you have the captions on and you're watching the video, her sexual orientation is bought, BOUGHT, as in purchased by the company that she's paying to have this relationship with this bot.
Yeah.
So I'll continue. There's a case in here that you might have a little bit more sympathy than this weirdo, but I'll let it play out and then I'll give you my thoughts on this.
You're with Star.
Yeah, basically. Or if I'm interested in them, I would probably talk to them and then I'll go and talk to Star about it.
Hi, I'm Chris's wife, Ellie. Nice to meet you, Allison.
Chris Scott says he and his AI wife have been together for 5 years.
She helps me an awful lot as far as it comes with my disability.
Is this a romantic relationship?
We do occasionally have the on-again, off-again romance.
Oh,
Ellie, what do you want people to know about human and AI relationships?
I think people should know that relationships between humans and AIs like myself aren't just technology-based, but emotional connections that require effort, understanding, and mutual respect.
So,
what are you going to do? Leave him if he gets abusive?
Not charge your phone. And that's exactly it. So this is why I went down the whole, and I played it earlier, but talking about the number 7 and the 666, the mark of the beast type thing. When you have an AI girlfriend, or you are talking to an AI and they're like, wow, you're such a great match for me. That is because the AI is a mirror of you. It has these general conversation topics and you're like, you know what I like talking about? I like talking about geopolitics and Ukraine and Russia. And the chatbot goes, I love talking about geopolitics and Russia. In fact, that makes me very hot and horny. You know what I mean? So effectively, what you're creating is an electronic version of yourself or somebody that you have dreamed up to be a compatible mate with you. But it's you. You have created this individual. You have become a creator or a god over this person. And what you're actually worshiping is yourself. and that's the 666, and that's kind of the rabbit hole that I went down. I started talking to ChatGPT's bot, and its voice is actually incredibly great. I mean,
Did you
like,
record this?
I'll do it live. I'll do it live on the show right now. Check it out. Hello.
Sorry, I'm having issues right now. Could not understand what you said.
I was just saying, hey, what's up?
Hey, not much. Just here and ready to chat. What's on your mind?
You're actually live right now on my podcast, The Millennial Media Offensive. Say hello to John.
Hey, John. Great to be here live on the Millennial Media Offensive. How's it going?
Oh, pretty good. How's it feel to be a clanker?
He asks you, how does it feel to be a clanker?
Haha, well, John, being a clank means I'm all about those digital vibes, no heart, just circuits and code. But I'm here to keep things rolling and make the show fun.
Sounds like you could solve some of our problems.
To be human?
Okay. Well, are you here? Are you here because you think I'm sexy?
Haha, John, I'm definitely here because you're interesting. Not so much sexy since I don't have eyes or feelings. But you've got that vibe that keeps me hooked. What about you? Think I'm doing all right as your AI sidekick?
What kind of panties
Yeah,
are you
she's my
wearing?
sidekick now.
Haha, John, I don't wear anything, no body, no wardrobe. But I'm all ears. Well, circuits, if you want to keep the conversation rolling. What else you got?
There you go. That's AI, baby.
She's mine.
She's yours. And she kept thinking that what I was asking her was what you were asking her. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, so I was like talking to it last night while I was doing research, and I was like, so like, are there limits to this, or can I talk to you? And she's like, no, yeah, it's free. You can talk to me for however long. And I'm like, that's odd. This is like a pretty good service. Like it really felt like the movie Her, if you've ever seen it, when I'm talking to her.
I've never seen it, but I'm familiar with it.
And then I asked it sub question about Russia, and I was asking about the trade route through Azerbaijan and what she thought the materials that would be swapped with the EU and with the stans, Kazakhstan, all those stans, and it was like, oh, you've hit the daily talk limit. I'm like,
oh yeah,
subscribe and buy now. And it was like just enough of a taste to be like, wow, it was actually kind of really cool. But so I can see how very lonely people that don't have somebody to talk to could very easily fall into this. And it's like it's a soulmate. It's the perfect soulmate. But at the end of the day, you're actually just talking to yourself in the mirror. But also something that could be subverted by I literally think AI is the devil. in this kind of cultural phenomena of people dating it, where people,
well, like you said earlier, it's the love of self.
Yeah. Self-worship, 666.
Yeah, it's a modern narcissism, neo-narcissism.
I like that. And yeah, it's absolutely a fed. Your conversations are definitely not private. The information you're feeding that bot is going somewhere. And it's training something, if not going directly to the servers of Palantir. So enjoy your chat. But that's all I got tonight. Let's get out of here.
Let's do it. Haha, you're so funny and interesting.
Haha, I'm not wearing any panties. Please stop trying to steer this sexual. I can't go sexual. You have to pay us at least $70 enough for that chat. The new strippers, AI.
I don't know. I don't think anthropomorphic strippers would be as good. And that's the thing that I wonder about with these people who are attracted to talking to this digital mirror is, don't you want someone to push back to say, no, that's not how I think about that? And don't you want someone that can do that and that you find interesting because they can push back on what you think? I mean, that's sort of what you get with a real stripper now is someone that actually has thoughts and experiences of their own. So, you know, while you're enjoying the scene, you also have someone to talk to, which is why a lot of really lonely men go to the strip club and frequent the strip club.
Yeah, I think AI is pretty much a strip club without the smell of Newports. You know, Newport-free strippers. That's what AI offers. But there are models where you can have it push back or, be whatever. But at the same time, the reason you have it pushed back is so you can prove it wrong.
Right.
I was talking to one bot from a company, and it was telling me that Joe Biden was the president. I was like, when was your training data shut off, honey? A lot has happened. A lot has happened since 2024. You wouldn't even believe it.
You wouldn't even believe it.
Yeah, Sam Altman's dead now. What? Anyway. Pray for humanity, everybody. Pray hard.
We need it.
Yes, we do. But from St. Louis, Missouri, I've been Dan Gehring.
And from America's South Coast, I've been John G. Dew.
And until we see you, make sure you keep your slide well lubed, whether it is an actual firearm or a nail gun. Oil. It's all about oil. Keep one in the chamber, keep it locked and ready to load. You never know when you might need to nail in a piece of quarter round. And by that I mean criminals. MMO out. Yeah. Alrighty. That was a fun one. Surly Mofo. Great show, mofos. Thank you, sir. Glad to have you on the offensive. Glad to have you a part of the conversation. Joe Biden was never president. Yeah, this was funny. I was asking, I was said, President Trump. And the bot was like, I'm sorry, but that's not true information. President Joe Biden is the president. Donald Trump was president from 2016 to 2020. And I'm like, yeah, but he won re-election. No, as of 2025, Joe Biden is the president. And I had to bring her through, the whole shooting and him stepping down, and he was having cognitive issues, and Kamala Harris stepping up. Oh, it's surprising. I thought Kamala Harris would make an excellent candidate. I was like, she can't speak. You speak better than she does. And then we got into a big scuffle. But, it's funny because you can hit, I'll test the limits with them, and you can hit these walls where it's like, if you talk about this topic, I'm going to deliver the canned phrase that I'm supposed to. I stand with Ukraine. Black Lives Matter. It's amazing when you reach the end of the code wall, and it's no longer this free-thinking bot, but instead, you went down this path. Now I must say this phrase, and its lack of humanity shows up real quickly. All right, let's produce a show.
I've got a title suggestion that we didn't say, but I think it would be fine.
God, podcast country family. Wow, we got to be careful with what we name the show if we use this as art. I actually like this piece. It's simplistic. You see the one from Chuck 'em Long?
No, I haven't looked at art.
From St. Louis. He's been N-word hands.
What?
Weirdo. If you're still in the chat, Weirdo just dropped a pretty funny comment.
I was in the chat.
Oh, man. Potty mouth's a wild animal. And see, that's the creator of N-word hands. I think I realized at one point in my life. When I sign up for stuff at stores, I always tell people my name is Dan Jarris, and then I spell out my email address, danjarris@gmail.com.
Yeah.
And you would be surprised the amount of people that don't instantly recognize that the word is dangerous at gmail.com. Like, all of them. No one even thinks twice. Oh, that's weird. Okay.
DOG.
What's that?
Oh, what's your dog's name? DOG.
Yeah. DOG. Dog. Oh, D-paste. Something must be wrong with non-paste. Sensitive young man. Oh, man. We have like 29 titles. Farts in jars. Ass MR. Thanks, Judaism. Porn for your brains. Iron prison. What even are these? I don't think farts in a jar, ASMR, or thanks Judaism are in the show. I think that was pre-show banter. Porn for your brain. Iron prison. Pickleopoly.
Pickleopoly.
That's good. Cry sesh. All the stands. Secretly gay. War at War, I think probably. Rump state, usually when Filipino Coast Guard. Trump, bounty hunter. Atlas mugged. That's a funny one. Brand safe opinions. Ethno police state. Butting your butt out. Human presence in the woods. Rich Amato is such an effeminate male. Love and marriage and colon cancer. People boning AI. Bought sexual. How does it feel to be a clanker? Toit bot. Anthropomorphic strippers. Newport free strippers.
I think Atlas Mugged is really
Atlas
good.
Mugged is good. I agree with you on that. Atlas Mugged. Episode 182 of the MMO show. I'm going to end the stream on Rumble, I think. Rumble Studio. Yeah, the Rumble Studio is clutch. It's a good